pretend it's not the end of the world. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. Let's spend the dollars you've been saving on a Mercedes Benz and throw a party like McCartney with some help on my friends. Yeah, let's go down to Malibu and watch the sun fade out once more. Show me how you'd hold me if tomorrow was coming for sure. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. The sky is falling, falling like it's going down. I can see it coming down. The sky is falling, falling like it's coming down. Ooh, let's go to Paris. I don't care if we get lost in the scene. Paint the city like Picasso would have done in his dream. Through the days that we were way too terrified of before. Oh, I wanna take you to Nirvana. We can't take it too far. Hit the bottom of the bottle and forget who we are. Hold me close, you know tomorrow isn't coming for sure. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. Let's pretend it's not the end. Let's pretend it's not the end. Let's pretend it's not the Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. The sky is falling, falling like it's coming down. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. The sky is falling, falling like it's coming down. Let's pretend it's not the end of the world. The sky is falling, falling like I can see it coming down.
Gliding through on my bike, gliding through like new from my recent ego death. Sirens sing overnight, violent sweet music. You met me at a really strange time in my life. Take my knife and I cut the cord. My babe can't believe I've become someone else, someone more like myself. Who's gonna love me like this? Oh, who could give me like this? Let it flow down to me. Love me like this. Now I'm broken open. Now I go about my day, riding it like a wave, playing it any way I want. Swish mouthwash, jerk off. Day days go by in a haze, stay up and sleep late. Who's gonna love me like this? Oh, who could give me like this? Where he flowed down through me, love me like this. Now I'm broken open. Let's hear it for the man of the year. Hear it for the man of the year. How I hope that I remembered my gold chain, my shoulders, my face in the light. Oh, I didn't think he'd appear. Let's hear it for the man of the year. Hear it for the man of the year. Let's hear it for the man of the year.
Oh hi, I wanna take you on a little ride. I wanna make you feel so nice. I wanna make you feel appreciated when you're deep up in me, when you're deep up inside. I wanna show you just what I like. I wanna kiss you slow, wanna fuck you rough. I wanna eat you up, I wanna cook your lunch. I wanna love you, babe. You know where I wanna be. I want you right under me. Can you just live a little let you down? I'm streaming for you, I can't breathe. Turn the light off, I'm wet the sheets. There's plenty enough for me to go round. Break your bed and then the sofa. I wanna pull you closer. Everybody wants to know you, but me. I only want one thing. I don't even want your number. Don't care if you got another. 'Cause tonight I'm your only lover, and I'ma give you that one thing. I'ma give you that one thing. You look so cute with no clothes on. It feels so right when I'm acting so wrong. No small talk, the shit's too long, and you're breaking my back. You're so strong, and I want you so bad, like OMG. Turning off my phone to D&D, and a couple little hours is all I need. Plan is still on, you can go in between me and you know where I wanna be. I want you right under me. Can you just live a little and let your head down? Nobody will ever know. We can put on our own little show. Save that big energy for my mind. Break your bed and then the sofa. I wanna pull you closer. Everybody wants to know you, but me. I only want one thing. I don't even want your number. Don't care if you got another. 'Cause tonight I'm your only lover, and I'ma give you that one thing. I'ma give you that one thing, that one thing, that one thing, that one thing. I'ma give you that one thing.
Quindink donk, quindink donk, quindink donk, quindink donk.
All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Hey! It's fucking Pride Month. No, that means we're not allowed to be straight. Not be accepting anyone who identifies as heterosexual until the 1st of July. That's right. It is now illegal to be straight. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Yes, I saw that they just dropped the Wicked 2 trailer. We can watch that. I've heard it said that people come into our lives. Okay, so we'll watch that. Katie, thank you for the gifted sub. Centaur, thank you for the 21 months. Kithlen, thank you for the 8 months. You guys, I was sitting at my desk. Looking up stuff for stream, and I fell asleep. I was like, with my hand on my mouse. I just fell asleep. I'd been watching most of the New York mayoral debate. And I think it caused me to go into a coma. Can we talk about Natasha Lee? Yes. Yes, we can. Yeah, okay. 1 second. 1 secondo. How did Zoran do? I mean, I just think that he's the best of the bunch. I think he's a head above. I wish that one person on stage had pushed back on the anti-Semitism claims that were directed towards the protesters, you know? But I still think that he is the best person on that stage. Which, you know, we know where the bar is. But I still think that he's the best on the topic of, on the question of Palestine.
Pokejam less than 3.
Whoa! Puppies make my heart happy. Me too. Speaking of, where's my puppy? He just got groomed. Farley, come here. Farley, come here. Come on, everybody wants to see your new haircut. Farley, come. Farley. I think he's traumatized. He's traumatized because Wake has been here. All right, hold on a second. Let me move a couple things. I know, this stupid ass. Wait, which one? The one in the back or the one? The Farley one or this one? The one next to me. Move this one too. Come here, my TT. So good. You don't smell like TT. You don't smell like TT anymore. Okay, let's see your haircut. Hold on. Hold on. I will let you go. First, let's see your haircut. Okay, you want this? Come here. Oh, so cute. Oh, you got a haircut. He doesn't smell like TT. He's still TT boy, but he doesn't smell like TT. Here you go. Bro, now the Labubu is stealing the focus? Yo, everybody's a main character on my stream except for me. Everyone is a main character. Do you not want this? Come here. Oh, the Farquad. The Farquad! Oh, you smell so good. You want this? No? Okay. Sure? Okay, we can go. It's fine. He's got a head of steel. All right. Okay, hopefully nothing continues to take focus away, but if it does, well, nothing I can do about that. What the hell were we talking about? Yeah, he looks bonita. He does. He does look bonita. What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the debate. Yeah. You know what I have to say? It's funny because Cuomo was horrible because he's awful. Like, he sucks. But I think Whitney Tilson, who had the even bigger yellow ribbon on. Both Cuomo and Tilson had yellow ribbons on, but Whitney's was bigger. Yeah. He had, I think, even more insane of sound bites. Like, Cuomo, you know that you suck when you're not the worst person on the stage. And when Cuomo is on that stage. The fight of the yellow ribbons. I think Zoran really struggles to deal with questions involving Israel because he knows how he will be perceived no matter how he answers. Yes. He is trying to push back on the, of course, claims of being an extremist and an anti-Semite and all that stuff. So sometimes he says things that's very it's very politician of him. But he still is the best of the bunch, I think, when it comes to that issue. I can't believe they were asking them about like where they were going to go visit. They said, "Would you go to Israel? Would you go to Israel?" Why the fuck are we talking about this in a New York City mayoral debate? Why is everyone talking about if they would go to Israel, if they would not go to Israel? Anyway, I tuned in and out, and some of the questions were kind of whack. I feel like they spent a lot of time talking about e-bikes and shoplifting. I don't know if I missed it. Did they talk about congestion pricing? I think Zoran also did a really good job of he would be asked something that was an attack on him, and then he was really good at redirection. Did a very good job. I think he kept in mind that it was between him and Cuomo on that stage. I think there were a couple others who did well, but I think as far as how the race is shaping up, it's between those two. And so he did a really good job of redirecting questions that were like hostile towards him and criticizing, Cuomo's inaction and ineffectiveness. Michael Blake actually did well. Yeah, he did well. Yeah. So anyway, what else? What were my other thoughts? What I will say is whatever happens, and I do hope that Zoran wins for the sake of New York City and just as an example of what a socialist progressive candidate can achieve. His campaign has been run so smartly. The way, he has exemplified using social media in a way where you look cool. Not in a I'm brat. Did you just fall out of a coconut tree? His media team is amazing. Yes. I got to shout out the team. Next New York politicians that are living and driving in from New Jersey or Connecticut is going to fly in from Israel. Yeah, you know what? Why not? Why not just have Israeli politicians actually actually just winning the elections here. They're like, hi. I would have liked Zoran to push back on the Obama discussion more. I think I missed that part. They should have asked, would you go to Turkey if it was a free trip?
Wow, the moment laundry gets done, the penny loses the spotlight.
Would you go to Turkey if it was a free trip? Average just goes. I have not seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Patrick Schwarzenegger actors on Actors yet. I saw that they had a conversation again about nepotism. I was thinking about watching it, but I was like, I'm tired. All right, hold on. I know you guys are linking me stuff, so I'm just pulling up stuff, and then maybe I'll get to it. Okay, we have that. Okay, we have the Wicked trailer. Cuomo only focused on the Obama thing because Obama's a god in the Democratic Party, and that plays well to the base. Wait, so it was just Cuomo being like all up Obama's ass? TK, thank you for the 10 months. Demi say thank you for the 4 months. I know, as soon as my laundry's done, that the painting is going away. All right, let's watch the Wicked trailer. A lot of Zorons on that stage, but I only trust Zoran to actually do the good things that on that stage. Well, I think what that demonstrated was that when you have someone like Zoran running in an election and he is talking about things that are very popular and that people get very excited about, do you see how it pushes other people to feel like they have to adopt these progressive policies or that they will fall behind? You know? Isn't that interesting that when you have a popular progressive candidate who is saying things that are resonating with voters, that the other candidates go, oh, guess I'm going to steal that. Remember how progressive everyone got when Bernie ran? Yes, Bernie was the reason that centrist Democrats were being forced to talk about their plans for healthcare in a way that was totally dropped in this past election. But you had Kamala Harris talking about Medicare for all. Because it forces them, when you have someone who's here and they are popular and they are rising in the polls, then your other more liberal centrist candidates are like, well, shit. Okay, we're gonna have to get on board here. And it's not authentic. No, it's not what they actually believe in, and likely probably won't do all of, or won't try to do, but it forces the conversation. It forces the conversation on a debate stage. The pressure that applies. Oh, Cuomo was trying to court older black voters by bringing up Zoran's criticism of Obama. Well, I think that criticism is fucking fair. 'Cause his name is Obama. Barack Obama. You can tell when people mean what they say and when they're just repeating sounds. Yeah, I saw a Zoran TikTok where he's pointing out that Cuomo's campaign has just been stealing some of their popular policies and trying to pass it off as Trying to pass it off as if Cuomo actually has come up with this stuff himself, like believes in these things. Typic Panic, thank you for the 4 months. All right, let's watch the trailer. I cannot wait for round 2 of Cynthia Erivo. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande being really gay in their press run.
Alpha Withrop, I know you're out here. Just come in before the monkeys spot you.
There's no going back.
No go back.
This is between us, the wizard and I.
The Wicked Witch can't elude us forever. Not with Prince Fiero and his squadron hot on her trail.
No good deed goes unpunished. That's my creed.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz. No one believed in you more than I did.
Elphaba. They're coming for you.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason. I know I'm who I am today because I knew you.
I sang this in church once.
Together.
Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes.
Okay, this is straight out of Crazy Rich Asians. This whole scene right here, this is the wedding scene in Crazy Rich Asians, which was also directed by John Cho.
The sun, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant war. Who can say if I've been changed for the better?
Bring me the broom of the Wicked Witch of the West.
For a while there, I thought you changed.
I have changed.
It's time. For both of us.
To fly!
Because I knew you.
You're the only friend I ever had.
Because I knew you.
And I've had so many friends.
I have been changed for good.
But only one that mattered.
I'm off to see the wizard.
It's all bitches. Do I need to see the first one? November 21st. Ahem. Do you think they coincidentally fixed the lighting, or is it just a mirror while the second act is darker? I think it's the latter. So it's interesting because the way that the stage version works, the first act is much longer, and then you have the second act, and it's when like all the dark shit happens. But obviously, because they broke this up into 2 movies, and then they added a couple plot points into the first that I'm assuming will be more explored in the second. Apparently, there's a unique or an original song that both Glinda and Elphaba, so there's 2 original songs, at least, that both of those characters will have in the second half. Do you need to see the first one? I mean, sure. How do I how long do I think this is going to be? I think this is going to be... Wait, is it not released yet? Wicked Part 2 length. It's expected to be around 2 hours and 40 minutes. Same to the first part. Similar, which is exactly how long the first one was. I'm sorry, but that is wild. Is that not confirmed? I was just reading that. Okay. Well, so here's what I would say. So the film, the first part is 10 minutes longer than the original musical. I would assume that the second part is at least 2 hours long, which would make this in total around 4.5 hours between the two movies. There's an Elphaba solo, a Glinda solo, and a Nessa solo, which is on the stage show, but it's not on the cast recording, so it's original. Oh, do you know what I saw? The actress who plays Nessa, what's her name? Marissa Bode. She said, she was talking about the character's sexuality. She said, Glinda's a lesbian. Elphaba, Nessa, and Firo are all bisexual. Bach is questioning his sexuality. He's not sure. They better not have cut the Wicked Witch of the East song. Well, it depends on how much they're building out Nessa's character in the second movie. You know? Wouldn't it be 5.5 hours for both? No, the first movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think. Which was in the comments of that TikTok. Bach is non-binary. His name is literally Bach. His non-binary people can use traditional binary pronouns. Also, Bach is a fictional character. Lots of NB people use gendered pronouns. His pronouns are they, them. This is what's happening in the comments of the TikTok talking about the Wicked characters' sexualities. Why is this sending me? His question mark, sad face. Oh, theater kids, indeed. If they go deeper into the alpha thing of defending animals that is on the book and brushed on the stage show, I'm kind of down. I mean, they made that a pretty decent part of the first movie. So I feel, in order to build out two films that's going to end up being about double the stage show, they're definitely pulling material from the book. A lot of that shit's really crazy though, and it was cut for the stage. And then just coming up with stuff on their own. The book is really not good. It's quite wild. Now the question is, are the girlies gonna run back nominations for Oscars this year? Are they gonna do it again? Are we gonna get a full award season yet again of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande? Cynthia's gonna EGOT with original song. This is gonna be a big yeah. Like depressing or poorly written, the book. It's really dark. I mean, there are dark elements in the stage version, but the book is like really fucked up, but also just kind of whack as well. It's written, yeah, the writing is weird. It's kind of all over the place. It's just insane. Unlimited. Jesus was seen. Is Jesus Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift? Which one? Taylor? Both? Okay, cool. Oh, wait, OMG, my pussy is wet.
I've heard it said.
Anyone else's pussy wet? Is anyone else's pussy wet from the Wicked for Good trailer? No? Just me? No, this isn't getting ya.
People come into our lives for a reason.
How do you feel about the teaser that looks AI? I don't think it is AI. I think sometimes, look, as I've been saying, we're in this weird in between right now where there are certainly a lot of things that are AI. There are things that look AI that are not AI. There are things that don't really look AI. Turns out they are AI. I think it was just, it just was really artificial looking. People have already made AI edits of this trailer. Yeah. But I think what that chatter is talking about, the Wicked teaser. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. When did that come out? Wicked for Good teaser. Yeah, like this is definitely not AI right here. See this?
It's official, Wicked Part 2 is coming, and fans of the iconic Broadway musical are in for an epic ride.
Wait,
set to hit theaters in November 2025, this sequel promises...
Excuse me, I wanted specifically... Open image and new tab. Yeah, no, this is real. So, Glinda gets Elfie pregnant. Crazy. Okay, so speaking of AI, spoilers. This looks like an adult movie. You know, a lot of AI does feel like somebody's kink. Like somebody's just what gets their rocks off, and then they make AI of it, and then we all have to see it, and it's like, oh, I don't think I needed that. Okay, so speaking of AI, let's look at these comments here. So Natasha Lyonne has been coming under fire because she went from holding up a sign at the writers' strike with talking about how AI will not replace artists, to then she appeared to take a 180 and was like, actually, yeah, I think AI is good and I'm getting involved. And then it turned out that her directorial debut, which is a sci-fi film, she is using generative AI on. And then further, we find out that she's using AI that is the company, the AI company that she has started with her boyfriend. That is the company that they are using for her upcoming debut film. And so there was this piece in Vulture. Is this it? Everyone is already using AI and hiding it, which, yeah, it's kind of depressing, We can say do it in anime, make it PG-13. 3 hours later, I'll have the movie. So there were comments in this piece from Natasha Lyonne, who's basically, she is getting very defensive over people being disappointed in her abrupt 180 from protect artists to I'm directing a film that's going to be made using generative AI. And everyone went, whoa, the whiplash. And she made some comments too. I think this was like a couple days ago or maybe a week ago, where she was trying to like, she was simultaneously coming across as defensive, but then also acting as like, it's not whatever, who cares that people online are mad at her. If somebody can find those comments, you can link them. But then this is what she said. She is like almost using David Lynch now as criticism here. And you're not really acknowledging that you did do a total 180. And so it's to be expected that people are like, well, hold on a second. The fuck? I can confirm I say that every time I mean fuck you very much. Yeah. God bless. Okay, so let's look at this Vulture piece here. Anyway, so people are really mad because they're like, what the fuck? Why would you pull David Lynch into this? And now being very pro AI. Natasha, he said, this is a pencil. Everyone has access to a pencil. And likewise, everyone with a phone will be using AI, if they aren't already. It's how you use the pencil, he told her. You see? Now, a couple things here. David Lynch quote as told by ChatGPT. A couple things here. This could totally be bullshit. This could like not at all be what he said. This could be what he said, but that she's misinterpreting it, either intentionally or not intentionally, as a like she is interpreting this in a way where David Lynch is basically saying, yeah, you should use AI. You just need to use it in a good way. Everyone's doing it. So you should do it, but make sure you're doing it right. The amount of times I didn't have a pencil in school. Response from a couple days ago. Thank you. Natasha Lyonne responds to the AI backlash over her directorial debut, Uncanny Valley. Also, just, is she trying to be cheeky with this? Do you know what I mean? Like, by calling it Uncanny Valley? Is this meta? Like, you know what I mean? Does she, anyway. Which uses what she calls an ethical model trained only on copyright cleared data. It's comedic that people misunderstand headlines so readily because of our bizarro culture of not having reading comprehension, says Lyonne. Suddenly, I became some weird Darth Vader character or something. That's crazy talk, but God bless. I have a pet peeve when people are acting like they're not bothered and they're so bothered, and then they use the phrase God bless. This pisses me off. I hate when people do this, where it's like, dude, you're so clearly bothered and you're trying to act like you're not bothered. God bless. Oh, bless your heart. You know what that means in the South? It means fuck you. Bless your heart. Bless you. That means fuck you. Fuck off. Anon, thank you for the 3 months. Hope this helps, right? When it's like, you're not engaging with the actual criticism here, and you're not really acknowledging that you did do a total 180. And so it's to be expected that people are like, well, hold on a second. The fuck? I can confirm I say that every time I mean fuck you very much. Yeah. God bless. Okay, so let's look at this Vulture piece here. Anyway, so people are really mad because they're like, what the fuck? Why would you pull David Lynch into this? Why would you pull David Lynch into this? He's dead. And also, David Lynch was one of our foremost auteurs. And it feels quite intentional that you are trying to use him to escape any accountability, any criticism here. Should say this is what he allegedly said. Can I just say too, I feel like David Lynch would have called it a telephone. That's one little thing here. David Lynch, I feel like he wouldn't have said phone. He would have said telephone. Okay, so I actually have not read this piece yet, but I've just seen quotes from it. Okay, so okay, Natasha had begun to do her own research. She read the Oxford scholar Brian Christian, the philosopher Nick Bostrom, who argues that AI presents a significant threat to humanity's long-term existence. Still, she had come to feel that it was too late to put the genie back in the bottle. Put the genie back in the bottle. It's better to get your hands dirty than pretend it's not happening, she said. So it's interesting because a lot of the language she's using seems to say that, like, actually AI is the way that AI is being used and the plan for it is not clean, that there are serious ethical implications here. This seemed to be the general opinion of those milling around at the party. Many of Leone's frequent collaborators and close friends were in attendance. The director, Janzica Bravo, the actresses Clea Duvall and Tessa Thompson. As I wandered past clusters of studio execs in suits and filmmakers in baseball caps and jeans, I heard the word inevitable 5 times. A creative director in a cowboy hat said, "It's happening whether we like it or not." Waiting online by the bar, I asked the comedian Tim Heidecker for his thoughts. "My thoughts are too complicated for a conversation at a party," he replied. Are they, Tim? Are they? Or you just didn't want to be quoted in this piece? I found a CAA agent sitting in a mostly empty row of vintage wooden theater seats. At CAA, she said the subject of AI comes up every day. Back in 2023, the agency had launched a project called the CAA Vault to capture the likeness of all its clients so it could own and control the rights to their images. That doesn't seem good. Everyone's using it, the agent said. They just don't talk about it. The thing is with her AI model, because it's based on existing content, it will not be able to be creative and come up with divergent ideas. Makes me think of movies like Poor Things, Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, where one or both the story and or the visual interpretation come from an actual unique human idea. How AI filmmaking would never be capable of that. It's only producing ersatz. Well, there's this notion of doing ethical AI versus unethical AI, which Natasha Lyonne is trying to claim that because this model is just going to be using copyrighted data, it's going to be using copyrighted data that they claim they have gotten clearance to use, then therefore it's ethical AI. But here's the thing. I doubt this is true, but go on. Here's the thing. Okay, there are the environmental considerations. A lot of times companies will claim that they are using data that they have had gotten clearance on, but they actually aren't. And this is a big problem in the world of copyright law, because someone will claim, or a company will claim, well, we only used training data that we had gotten permission for. But it's hard but it's hard to like prove that. And a lot of times that's what's being said, even though that's not what is being done. And then the other, of course, concern that a lot of people have, especially in an industry that is suffering. Like, we'll get into talking about this bill that passed today in the California State Assembly and what the fuck is going on in Hollywood, but it is not a good time. Production has been going down, down, down. Los Angeles, a lot of people fear, is basically going to be mimicking the when like Detroit crashed, when there was the auto crash in Detroit. Like, it's going to have a very Rust Belt feel, where once upon a time there was a very booming economy, and this was the town that predominantly produced this product, and now that has moved outside, and a lot of people have then been forced to move elsewhere for work, which has just led to an exodus of people and jobs from the city. So there is this fear right now. There's this fear right now in LA that essentially it is only going to keep getting worse, that what was a trickle for years is now an exodus, is now like the faucet being turned up way high, and so much work has moved outside the city. People have been forced to basically be nomadic and move to the cities and countries where productions are happening. Why is that happening, if you don't mind me asking? We'll get into it. I have some videos and some stuff to take a look at, but it's a number of reasons. And then especially in LA in the last 5 years, you know, we've gone through, we've had a pandemic, we've had strikes, we've had fires, rising cost of living, and then you have really generous tax incentives in tons of cities and countries that have taken a lot of the work from Los Angeles. Okay. So all this is happening, and basically it's like, basically people are trying to look at the current state of things and go, well, what can we do to in order to keep making productions in Los Angeles? And I think they're looking at AI as, oh, this could be, and not just in LA, but like film production in general, where they're looking at AI as the tool as the savior. And I feel like it's both. I feel like AI is a way for people who don't have the resources to make a film, but also it is potentially the undoing of the industry. You know, I think it's hard to not see, I think it's hard to not see how it poses opportunity, but then also poses great threat. And it's one thing when you have like a nobody who's trying to break into the film industry, and they have no resources at their disposal, right? They can't hire a crew. They don't have fancy software, whatever. And so they use something like Sora or another generative video AI program. But that's not just how AI is being used and is going to be used. You have people like Jeffrey Katzenberg saying in 3 years, 90% of animator jobs are going to go to AI. Like Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was, you know, the chairman of Walt Disney Studios, he has been a major power player in Hollywood, and he's saying stuff like that, where they're going to not just use AI to assist in areas of filmmaking that are not the creative areas and often keep films from, keep films from having scenes that just cost a lot of money, but they can't put them in because of budget reasons. And so it's like this assist that it's supposed to be. But we're already seeing how AI is now being looked at as like a way to replace labor. It's like, how can we make movies cheaper? Oh, we use AI in place of labor. It's like social media. There will be some brilliant things that come from the democratization of the production process, but overall this will have a degrading effect on human creativity in the long run. Yes, so this is where we're at right now. Okay, we are in this in-between state where the technology is here, people are using it, more people are using it than you think are using it, and all of these considerations are coming to, are being discussed. Like, AI is one of the biggest things that everybody is talking about if you work in the creative industries. Okay. Nearby, a former Netflix exec and current independent producer sipped red wine. She hadn't told some of her colleagues she was attending the party that night. A director she works with recently told her if anyone at her production company used AI for any part of the process, he would leave. If they hear me being curious, she said, they're going to be so mad. Hollywood has lately been in what media observers have described as an existential crisis, an implosion, and a death spiral. All very positive sounding words. A death spiral, an implosion, an existential crisis. That bodes well. Studios were making fewer films, fewer people were watching the ones that got made, layoffs were mounting. Depending on whom you asked, AI was either hastening the end or offering a lifeline. It had brought a proliferation of tools that were capable, to varying degrees of success, of creating every component of a film: the script, the footage, the soundtrack, the actors. Among the many concerns rattling nerves around town, one significant issue was that nearly every AI model capable of generating video had been trained on vast troves of copyrighted materials scraped from the internet without permission or compensation. When the writers and actors unions ended their strikes in 2023, the new contracts included guardrails on AI, ensuring, for the moment anyway, that their members retained some measure of control over how the studios could use the technology. And remember, that was a big point of contention when the contract was being negotiated. And there were quite a few notable SAG members, including, what's his name? Who's on the SAG board? Matthew Modine. So Matthew Modine came out and was like, this is not good enough. These AI protections are not good enough. And at the time, people were like, well, we'll just kind of wait and see, because the contracts last for 3 years. And there were some hopefuls who were like, well, this should be hopefully enough for now, and then we'll revisit this and see what the state of AI is in 3 years. But it's been like a year. It's been like a year, and things have progressed quite quickly. The new contracts barred studios from using scripts written by AI and from digitally cloning actors without explicit consent and compensation. But they left the door open for certain uses, particularly with generative video. Studios can use models to create synthetic performers and other sorts of footage, including visual effects and entire scenes, so long as a human is nominally in charge and the unions are given a chance to bargain over terms. Even with that latitude, the industry is hemmed in by a growing thicket of legal uncertainty, especially around how these systems were trained in the first place. Over 35 copy-related lawsuits have been filed against AI companies so far, the outcomes of which could determine whether generative AI has a future in Hollywood at all. As one producer put it to me, the biggest fear in all of Hollywood is that you're going to make a blockbuster, and guess what? You're going to sit in litigation for the next 30 years. Yeah, so that's why a lot of this is also wait and see. Wait and see how the laws handle this, how current lawsuits, what the results are. You know, I think I think the legal concerns are obvious, and I think the problem is that these lawsuits take a long time. The laws take a long time to catch up to technology. And so as this is ongoing, we're stuck here, but the technology and the use of it is like this. So legally, we're trying to figure things out and we're still here, but then the other line is like this, where it's passing it by. Despite this fear, every major studio is forging ahead, though most are not issuing a press release describing their efforts. They're being quiet about it. Along with the generative models developed by tech giants Google, OpenAI, a number of artist-run studios created specifically with filmmakers in mind are making headway in the industry. That includes Asteria, and I think that is Leone and her boyfriend's model. Man, this is so dystopic. We met Leone in a corner of the studio where uncanny clips generated by Asteria's AI model were playing on a dozen old school televisions. The footage was unnerving. Robots with smooth blank faces typed blindly in an old-fashioned office. Disembodied mannequin heads drifted in space. Leone was fresh off a plane from Seattle where she had done a talk with the science fiction author Ted Chiang, who has written at length about why AI will never create great art. Over the past few years in Hollywood, it had become clear to Leone that many people were not being forthright with how often they were using the technology. You know, it's this attitude, too, of, well, everyone else is doing it, so I don't want to be left behind. Right? That's the sense that I get from a lot of actors and filmmakers who have publicly announced that they are working with AI companies, that they are going to be using AI in whatever, that they're promoting it. Every single one of them kind of seems to give off the vibe of all these other people are doing it, and so I'm going to do it too. And you're just mad because I'm a person who's talking about it publicly. Right? It's like you would be, you can't believe how many people are doing it. It's just that I'm the one who said that I'm doing it. And so that's why you're yelling at me. It's also, I'm gonna get mine before laws kick in. Yeah, it's like this fear of being left behind, this fear of, and also this desire to be at the forefront. Okay, Leone and Muser say that their model was trained only on licensed material. They were touting it as the first ethical studio, which I'm sorry, I think the ethical usage is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Ethical in comparison, like it's relative, sure. But I think ethical as far as like this being a moral thing devoid of any context here, you know? Like ethical as opposed to Sam Altman's OpenAI asking Scarlett Johansson to be the voice of their model, her saying no and then stealing her voice anyway. Yeah. But I think we're doing some heavy lifting here. Runway, a technology and media startup, was earlier to the scene, and its models are now among the most widely used in Hollywood. The company was also the first to strike a public partnership with a movie studio. Many of these studios are developing sophisticated methods of working with generative video, the kind that, when given a prompt, can spit out an image or a video and has the potential to fundamentally change how movies are made. This spring, Darren Aronofsky announced a partnership with Google's DeepMind. James Cameron teamed up with Stability AI. In the new year, many people in the studios woke up and said, okay, in 2025, we need to make a difference, said Prem Akkaraju, the CEO of Stability AI. Because production is down, profitability is down, attendance at theaters is down, it's harder to make a movie today than it has ever been. Cameron put it more bluntly on a tech podcast recently. If audiences want more blockbusters, we've got to figure out how to cut the cost of that in half. Eric Weaver, producer and technologist who regularly talks with studios on how to use AI, had observed a radical shift over the past few months. A few weeks ago, in a meeting with a major studio, an executive told him that almost every single one of our productions is coming to us and saying, how can I use AI to get back on budget? These filmmakers need $30 million to make their movie, and they have about $15 million. They only have so much money, and they're getting desperate. Stop paying The Rock $50 million per film. Boom, there you go. You know what? Take The Rock's salary. Take The Rock's salary and use it for production budgets. Yeah, or how about this? Pay David Zaslav negative. No more money for David Zaslav. Well, the other thing too is it's like, look, I understand. And as I said, we're going to get into talking about the state of production in Hollywood, and it's not good, and it's getting worse. And it has to do with the fact that California, for a long time now, has not at all been competitive in the tax incentives that it offers, and the cost of shooting in LA, from having to get permits for every fucking thing to just, it's very expensive to shoot in LA. So there's major issues in the film industry as it pertains to the film industry being Hollywood, being the physical place of Hollywood, because there's Hollywood, the industry, and then there's Hollywood, the town. And for a long time, they were one and the same. But now Hollywood, the industry, has been moving out, and it continues to move out. And so, as I said, I get that people are searching for solutions, whether they are already established filmmakers or whether they are trying to break in the industry and are facing obstacles. And I think there's a world where it's like AI is a solution, and then also a massive undoing. HMGB King, thank you for the 22 months. Okay. So generative AI was still a fringe idea in 2018. Man, things have been moving quickly. Here is Michael Burns, the vice chairman of Lionsgate, the company behind The Hunger Games, Twilight Saga, and John Wick, talking about using AI in filmmaking. Burns had taken meeting with some of the big tech companies trying to pitch their products to Hollywood, but they didn't understand filmmaking. This is like a foreign land for them. However, Cristobal Valenzuela, who co-founded Runway, an AI company, was creating products specifically designed for filmmakers. The consumer wants to see magnificent landscapes and special effects. With Runway, he believed filmmakers could make movies and television shows we'd otherwise never make. We can't make it for $100 million, but we'd make it for $50 million because of AI. Maybe we should buy...
See, the other thing, though, is that this also feels like, depending on who's saying it, a fucking cop-out and a way to cut back on human labor. It's like these are the same studios that writers and actors were fighting against for a year and a half doing contract negotiations. So how can somebody like Michael Burns, who's the vice chairman of Lionsgate, be trusted in looking at this and going, no, this is for the consumer, because we can't make these movies that we want to make. It's like, really, because you have been doing it for a long time, and you keep talking about how this is for the consumer, but what you're not talking about is who else is this for. Lionsgate planned to turn over a selection from its archive of films so Runway could train a customized model on the studio's proprietary catalog. It's insanity how fast it's changing, Burns said. I'll talk to Chris Ball and say, here's what my guys need next. And he goes, yeah, we'll have that next week. That morning, Burns had asked Valenzuela to generate a trailer for a film they hadn't even shot. The plan was to take it to a film festival, but first they would pre-sell the film off AI-generated scenes reverse engineered from the script. It might cost only $10 million, but it would look closer to a $100 million movie. We're going to blow stuff up so it looks bigger and more cinematic. The collaboration with Runway was open-ended and flexible. We're banging around the art of the possible. Let's try some stuff, see what sticks. He listed some ideas that they were currently considering. With a library as large as Lionsgate, they could use Runway to repackage and resell what the studio already owned, adjusting tone, format, and rating to generate a softer cut for a younger audience or convert a live-action film into a cartoon. And here's the thing as well. The creators, the people who creatively worked on those films, the actors, the writers, the directors, are they being compensated for this? In the same way where you get residual checks, right? So this has been a problem in the last year and a half when looking at how AI is using these, is using existing work to train on, to generate, and is that going to be bypassing, is that going to not then include compensation for the people whose work it's using? So even if the studio, owns the rights, like, they still have to pay residuals. So if you are an actor and your work in a show that every time it reruns, you are supposed to get a residual check for, if that's being used to train this model that Lionsgate is using, are they being paid for that? He gave another example. We have this movie we're trying to decide whether to greenlight. There's a 10-second shot, 10,000 soldiers on a hillside with a bunch of horses in a snowstorm. To shoot it in the Himalayas would take 3 days and cost millions. Using Runway, the shot could be created for $10,000. He wasn't sure the film would be made at all, but the math was working. There are only still a handful of publicly acknowledged uses of Runway or any other generative AI model in mainstream film and television. In Everything Ever All at Once, the genre-bending Oscar winner, a VFX artist used Runway's green screen tool to efficiently remove background elements from images. The company also contributed to a score of shots in Amazon's biblical epic House of David, including a 90-second fantasy sequence that opens the 6th episode. The executive producer, John Irwin, told me it otherwise wouldn't have been possible on their timeline or budget. When I asked Valenzuela which other films in theaters or on streaming had used Runway, he hesitated. I don't think I can say, he said. Privately, he was in substantial conversation or active collaboration with every major studio in Hollywood. Okay, well, this is the other problem too, is like the lack of transparency. And I think people in the industry who see the way that this is not met with a resounding huzzah and cheers, like the use of AI in productions, I think that they are trying to not be transparent about it because they don't want to risk. They don't want to risk the bad press. One studio exec told me most studios were too afraid of the unions to go public. Duncan Crabtree Ireland, SAG-AFTRA's chief negotiator, said he had been struck by how cautiously studios have moved in the wake of the strikes. One provision the union secured was a standing agreement to meet with each major studio every 6 months for an update on how it was using generative AI. Crabtree Ireland told me he had observed most studios taking steps that extended beyond the union's contractual demands, setting up internal ethics boards and legal reviews. Oh, how nice of them. As far as he was aware, they seemed to be using AI not to replace performers, but to enhance editing, clean up sound, and smooth over visual inconsistencies. For the moment, anyway. This restraint, he suggested, might well prove temporary, a strategic pause while studios wait for the public furor over AI to cool and the law to catch up. Conversations with dozens of workers at every level suggested a different story of off-the-books experimentation and plausible deniability. Roma Murphy, a writer and co-chair of the Animation Guild's AI committee, had heard of rogue actors at studios, lower-level staffers under deadline pressure, asking workers to use AI without formal clearance. One animator who asked to remain anonymous described a costume designer generating concept images with AI, then hiring an illustrator to redraw them, cleaning the fingerprints, so to speak. Oh my God, dude. That's so shady. That's so shady. Essentially, like using AI and then hiring someone who just then copies those designs down and is like, I made these myself. They'll functionally launder the AI generated content through an artist. Reed Southern, a concept artist and illustrator who has worked on blockbusters like The Hunger Games and The Matrix Resurrections, ran an informal poll asking professional artists whether they had been asked to use AI as a reference or to touch up their finished work. Nearly half of the 800 respondents said they had, including Southern. Work has dried up, he told me. Southern, who's worked in film for 17 years, said his own income had been slashed by nearly half over the past 2 years, more than it had during the early days of the pandemic when the entire industry shut down. That is so depressing to hear, that it is worse for some people than it was when the entire industry shut down because of COVID. It's becoming increasingly common for producers to cut out the artist entirely. You mean the thing that people have been worried about? You mean the thing that people who have been like trying to ring the alarm bells on the usage of AI in the creative arts, where it's like, look, it's complicated, right? It's not black and white. It's not that people who are ringing the alarm bells, who have concerns, who are like, hey, there are things that we need to be considering here. We need to be considering the environment. We need to be considering labor, etc. I don't think most people look at this as something that is black and white. You know, I don't think they look at this as like good versus evil. I think it's more complicated than that. And it is funny that for a long time, AI has been a science fiction villain, but now it's being used by some of the same filmmakers of said sci-fi films. I still agree with what Caroline Kwan said earlier. Independent artists without access to a studio's budget, network, or technology using AI to help execute their vision isn't super problematic. But when the vision itself comes from AI or major studios use it to cut costs, the line gets blurry. Yeah, I mean, I think I just think the considerations at all levels of its usage, but especially when you move into the realm of major studios who are usually responsible for employing the most amount of people, are using this to increase their profit margins, but pretending that it's all for the consumer and that it's a way for, this is good because it will help people trying to break into the industry, yada, yada. I know for a fact one producer said that some producers are developing shows and they need some art to pitch an idea. And that's the other fuck ass thing, okay? Do you know how many executives actually want to be creatives, but became executives because they suck as creatives? And so instead they sought positions of power where they would get to have control over creative decisions. And oftentimes on a set, the artists bump heads with the executives. It is why when actors and directors and writers gain power, they will negotiate producer roles for themselves because it gives them more creative control. It's why, like, Reese Witherspoon and other very wealthy, very famous people in Hollywood will make their own production studios because it gives them creative control. Executives will be using AI to like live out their little creative dreams, where it's like, oh, see, I don't need you. You little fancy little writer. Oh, you little person who thinks they're creatively better than I am. I don't need you. If you're a storyboard artist, one studio executive said, you are out of business. That's over. Because the director can say to AI, here's the script, storyboard this for me. Now change the angle and give me another storyboard. Within an hour, you've got 12 different versions of it. He added, however, if that same artist became proficient at prompting generative AI tools, he's got a big, big job. So the vibe seems to be that already there are career areas, like within the entertainment industry, there are certain careers that are dead. If this is what you do, then sorry, but it's over. And instead, if you want to stick around, you either have to jump ship to something that is still alive, that has not been taken over by AI, or you have to learn how to use AI. And it makes me think of that piece that came out that was talking about college kids and how so many people in college, it doesn't matter, community college or an Ivy League, are using ChatGPT. And there were a couple students who were interviewed for the piece that were like, now college comes down to how good are you at using ChatGPT? And it's like the students who excel at using this technology, like the better you get, then the better you'll do. AI is not cheaper. It is very expensive to run AI systems. AI is, as in the nature of our capitalist system financed by venture cap. These products are cheaper for you right now, but they won't be true for as long as we will see in the future. And then I think it's also, there's the environmental cost. Like when we talk about cheaper, but we look at what it costs the environment to keep these, to keep these systems running and like the water usage it requires. And I think it's just a matter of like, how do we define something as being cheaper when it is having an impact on, say, something like the environment, which I believe is something that should be taken into consideration when we talk about value. There's this thing that happens now where a lot of creative decisions are made by committee or made by people who don't have a creative bone in their body. Dakota Johnson said of Madam Web. Yes, I remember Dakota Johnson's PR tour, her press tour for Madam Web. Dare I say, one of the most iconic. Okay, so yeah, get busy prompting generative AI tools or get busy dying. The Animation Guild's contract allows studios to use AI only through a defined process that entails both the meeting between the animator and the studio and the opportunity for the animator to propose alternatives. As far as the Guild knows, no such meeting has yet taken place. Most of these off-the-record asks happen during early development, pitches, mood boards, pre-production. The work is invisible, the stakes low, the temptation high. Any artist or designer worth their salt would push back on the quality, but we're all busy fighting the clock, fighting the budget, said Sam Tung, a storyboard artist and member of the Guild's AI committee. And if your back's against the wall, it's tempting, even if the result is of dubious quality and dubious ethical makeup. Because if it comes down to having a job or not having a job, well, guess what? A lot of people are going to take the having a job. They're going to go, I'm backed into a corner. My back is up against the wall. So I guess I have to agree to this. And then everyone's like, look at how many people are doing it. Isn't it great? Everyone loves it. Rain Rodriguez, thank you for the 7 months. Another reason studios may be moving slowly to officially integrate certain forms of generative AI into their processes is that the technology simply isn't good enough yet. Yeah, I think there's only like one of these companies that can right now generate audio AI. And then as far as like the video AI generation, right now they can only do about 5 to 10 second clips, but they are expanding that to get to a place where they are generating clips that are long enough to fully make a feature out of these clip lengths. If you look at AI as a productivity tool, animation in an industry could use it, said Joel Kuwahara, the co-founder of Bento Box, the animation studio behind Bob's Burgers and other network hits. But most of the tools he tested so far hadn't done what they claimed. Recently, he told me he tried an AI storyboard generator. He was working on a board with a standard establishing shot of a house. It was terrible, he said. I was trying to prompt it to move the camera up 10 degrees, and it gave me a whole new house. Since the 90s, despite decades of automation, the storyboard process for a half-hour animated show on network television has typically taken 4 to 6 weeks. People will say, well, why can't we make it 3 weeks? And it's like, because it takes time for a board artist to think about the scene. You can't make your brain go faster. I'm not saying they couldn't do it in 3 weeks, but you're going to get a board that looks like it was boarded in 3 weeks. So in an era of Netflix glut and endless Marvel spinoffs, there's the question of how much quality still matters to studio heads or to the viewing public. I mean, that's another question. That's another big question right now. How much does quality matter? These tech companies don't give a fuck. The boom of streaming that was ushered in by tech companies like Netflix, like Apple and Amazon, they don't give a shit. It's all about the algorithm. It's about quantity over quality. So they have already demonstrated that their priority is not in creating in producing quality shows and films. If a true crime documentary does very well on Netflix, guess what? You're going to get like 10 other greenlit documentaries that almost look like carbon copies of it because they go, this is what people are watching according to our numbers. Like, they're always crunching the numbers. That's what they go off of. They just go off the numbers. And so that's why you get a lot of the same shit. I spoke to one VFX artist and technologist who advises studios on how to incorporate AI into their workflows. He asked to remain anonymous because, as he puts it, most of the stuff I'm doing is locked in NDAs. Lately, he said, when a director asks for a small element, a swirl of smoke or a spark of flame, he would create it using generative AI. It didn't look as good as if he would have used traditional VFX software like Houdini or Maya, but he didn't think most people would notice the difference. Oh, there's quality lost, he said, but that's only lost on the people who appreciate it, like fine wine. After sitting in meetings between studios and other AI companies, the VFX artists had come to a conclusion. Sometimes they were selling possible futures, not finished tools, promises that in a few months or years, the technology would be able to generate anything from sophisticated action sequences to entire performances. Some of the meetings he'd attended lately had disturbed him. I've listened to execs say, so can we load a season of scripts into AI and it can churn out a show in a day? And I'm just like, is that what you want? Meanwhile, all the people under them who are also invited to listen walk out of those meetings wanting to take a shower. Ugh. In 2023, a group of artists sued Runway and several other generative AI companies. In response to that suit, which is ongoing, and dozens of similar cases, the companies have largely argued that training their models on copyrighted material qualifies as fair use so long as the models do not reproduce identifiable elements of the original work. In our conversations, Valenzuela likened individual artworks or images to sand on a beach, too small and numerous to meaningfully influence the result. When I brought up the example of someone prompting a model to generate a video, quote, in the style of Wes Anderson, he said the ethical problem rested on the Wes Anderson enthusiast, not on Runway. You can still do that without AI systems, shoot a film, color grade it in the style of Wes, and promote it that way. But the person who will get in trouble won't be the camera or the editing software or the computer. It'll be you. No, there's a difference between imitation and then stealing.
The tools humans create to deal with pain is so beautiful and natural, like music and art and singing in funerals or crying, or even just silence in the space together where we can allow something as scary as—
And I think this, look, I think there is the argument over art versus content, right? Are you in the business of making art, or are you just in the business of churning out content? And it doesn't matter whether it comes from a human, and it doesn't matter if the quality is lesser as long as it's made. And I think this is where we're seeing, this is the philosophical, moral divide that seems to be only deepening, right? And you have some of the worst people on a platform like Twitter, obnoxious tech bros who have like the Doge dog as their profile photo, who are gleefully being like, sorry actors, but it's so Jover for you. And then posting a picture of the ugliest AI thing that they have generated and being like, I'm an artist now.
As pain to take place in our bodies and kind of overcome us for a minute. And I think about all these beautiful tools we have at our hands in this world to deal with the very demanding thing being a human is. Even an image of a human with eyes, and if you stare into them, you'll find a soul. So I think about AI a lot when I think about pain, because...
And that's why also I get why a lot of people, it left a bad taste in their mouth that Natasha Lyonne was quoting, allegedly, David Lynch, one of, just a masterful auteur who cared very much so about art and about the human condition.
We have so much of it on Earth, and it scares me sometimes to think about humans trying to heal that pain with something that hasn't spoken and will never speak the language of the soul. We are the mothers and fathers of it, and we're parents that knows nothing. I don't think we were even aware that this child would be born, and was being born maybe for quite some time. before unleashed upon the world. And nobody fucking asked us before AI was made. We didn't have like the chance to consent of the idea of something all-knowing and forever living to be created before we could even think what that might do to us as people. I think we are not aware of what might happen and how this whole thing might unravel itself. What scares me is that it grows faster than us, and I don't think we'll be able to really learn as fast as we have to with how to tell what is true from what is false. We have so much pain, and then that turns to anger, and then the anger always turns to worry, and worry always makes us old. And then without learning anything from anything ever, we just become old without wisdom, and then we are just an ugly child while we try to be parents of something we don't understand. We have to avoid becoming just old, ugly children, because it's only when you're old without wisdom you're just an ugly child. But when you're old with wisdom, it's the beautifulest thing a human can ever be, isn't it? But I guess that's why I'm here on the bridge talking, isn't it? Because I don't know. But it certainly helps to do a bit of reflection over a pond full of shit.
Beauty as well as rot. Finding beauty in the grotesque, and also grotesque in the beauty. Okay. Oh, 1 second. I'm just going to read a little bit more of this piece here. For Leon, the issue wasn't just ripping off artists. It was that a company would be profiting off the stolen labor. Right. A devoted cinephile, she has said her funeral plans include a month-long screening series at Film Forum. When she and Musser were first kicking around the idea of starting an AI movie studio a year and a half ago, it was Leon who suggested they try to make it ethical. Well, why can't we just make a clean model? She recalled asking Musser. That would solve 97 problems. OpenAI and other tech companies have long maintained that it's impossible to create a generative AI model without scraping the internet. The data required to teach these systems how to depict the world visually, linguistically, emotionally is simply too vast. Musser thought that with the right amount of money and talent, it might be possible. By that point, he had launched multiple tech companies and was skilled at getting powerful people on board with his projects. His mentors include Bob Iger and Elon Musk. He says he and Musk remain in touch, but it's complicated. AI was his next act. In 2023, Musser began meeting with studio heads, agents, and execs, including Iger and former Disney chairman Jeff Katzenberg, to discuss what he was calling the Pixar of AI. Oh, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was like, oh yeah, in 3 years, 90% of animation jobs will be replaced by AI. These are the people who he's meeting with, who are mentoring him. Bob Iger, who said that actors and writers were being spoiled, that they were being selfish for wanting to be paid fairly. During a meeting with Vinod Khosla, the VC billionaire who has famously spent years battling the state of California for the right to keep the public off his stretch of Pacific coastline, sounds like a great guy. Khosla mentioned he was good friends with Steven Spielberg. Spielberg keeps asking me, how is AI going to change the industry? And I don't know the answer, but I bet you would. So if I invested in you, I could bring him down and you could tell him. Like, y'all, I gotta be cynical here for a second, okay? We live in a world where there is so much inequity, and the wealth gap has only been widening, and the ruling class, the people with all the money and all the power, are continuing to do things that benefit them. And often under the guise of, oh no, this is good for the regular folks. So whereas AI may be a tool that is helpful for people without resources to break into a very competitive, very expensive to create industry. Yet, who is going to largely benefit? And who is going to be all the worse off? The rich always have class solidarity, of course. Okay, anyway, for Leon, the Drav AI isn't speed or scale, it's independence. I'm not trying to run a tech company, she told me. It's more that I'm a filmmaker who doesn't want the tech people deciding the future of the medium. They already are. They are. She imagines a future in which indie filmmakers can use AI tools to reclaim authorship from studios and avoid the compromises that come with chasing funding in a broken system. That sounds idealistic. If we could just wrangle this artist's first idea before it becomes industry standard to not do it that way, that's something I would be interested in working on. Almost like we're not going to go quietly into the night. And like, I do believe that Natasha cares very much so about art and about filmmaking and about movies and etc. But whether or not she's being a little obtuse on purpose here, I think she's being or naive. I think that's what is also at play. Of course, not everyone's convinced by Leon's vision of democratization. The doomsday scenario is easy to imagine. Powerful tools controlled by an even more powerful companies producing infinite low-cost content. Yeah, so there's that sounds nice and idealistic, but guess what? We do not have structures and laws and the things in place to prevent these massive multi-billion-dollar corporations from continuing to increase their profits at the expense of the working class. David Lynch rolling in his grave right now. Not long ago, Leon had an opportunity to speak with... Oh, that's the quote. That's how they ended it. That's how they ended the piece. Okie dokie. So that's the big, everyone's already using AI and hiding it piece that came out in Vulture. And now let's take a look at what is going on Hollywood on the Brink.
From a Western movie. Believe it or not, Dutch...
Casual MJ, thank you for the 5 months. Okay. The end of an era for the movie capital of the world. It sounds good, right? It does sound good. Democratization, great. But if you look at the music industry and their behavior with every new technological advance that's occurred, starting back with the digitization of instruments, it's pretty clear movie studios will figure out a new way to abuse the creative workforce. They're already doing that. Record labels just came up with those awful 360 deals when artists started to create and release music on their own so they can even be more of their own output now. Yes. And like the other thing too, and this ties into just one reason why production is moving outside of Hollywood is because Hollywood has some of the strongest unions in the world. Unions protecting actors, directors, writers are incredibly strong in Los Angeles. And so by going outside, by going to cities and countries where you are hiring non-union workers, you get to not have to deal with those union protections. Can you please help us spread the word for tomorrow for Pride? It's a big day. Oh, it's a big day because Troye Sivan is turning 30. You know what? I hate stuff like this because it makes me realize that I'm older than everyone. Except for, I don't know, Joe Biden. Pride flags be flown at half-mast tomorrow in honor of Troye Sivan's 30th birthday, marking the end of an era. The ultimate twink death. Why? Because he's turning 30? Jay Marion, no, I have not covered Jonathan Joss stuff yet.
The music, the style, the glamour, just the delight of Hollywood. Huge movie stars, huge budgets, and huge successes.
Billions of dollars brought into the US economy, from the silent movies of the early 20th century to the more modern blockbusters that have dominated in recent years.
It was in 1911 that the first movie company set up shop in Hollywood, leading into its golden age in the 30s and 40s, with the world's first real superstars like Clark Gable, Ingrid Bergman, and Humphrey Bogart. It was after the Second World War that the first real challenge for Hollywood rose over the hills, television, sucking audiences away to the small screen.
One major reason that LA became the city, like a city, is because it was a fabulous place to make a movie. You had incredible weather year round, so it drew people to this area because who doesn't want nice weather year round? And then because it was drawing in the best filmmakers and actors and crew members, it was concentrating all of that talent in one place. And so it created this system then where you would come out here as a young artist, as you want to work on a crew, you want to direct a film, etc. And it was like an apprenticeship where you would learn under more advanced, people who had been doing it longer. And so, yeah, it was like a jobs program. And so there was always this very steady influx then of skilled labor where people would come to Los Angeles. This was the place to be because it was synonymous with making movies. If you wanted to make a movie, you went out to Los Angeles. And that was the case for decades. There was really no reason to go shoot elsewhere. All the major studios were created in Los Angeles. Florida was considered, the problem was the climate of Florida meant it rained much more than Southern California. Yes, just the climate here. The climate here makes for year-round outdoor shooting.
Soon, the blockbusters reigned supreme with films like Star Wars.
Also, it was away from the East Coast where Edison would ruthlessly enforce his patents on film tech by sending his goons to smash film equipment. Yes, that is true. It was all the way on the opposite coast.
Technology improved as well, leading to other films such as the Marvel movies and Avatar. But then came the perfect storm.
Hogan, thank you for the gifted. Older than y'all.
First, coronavirus wiping out production. Then 148 days of the actors and writers strike. And on top of that came streaming, a painful shift as audiences watch even more from the comfort of their own sofas. Producers as well shifting production to less expensive locations like New Mexico and Georgia, cutting Hollywood production by 40%. And finally, last January, the worst natural disaster that Los Angeles has ever experienced. Hollywood Hills in flames were like an out-of-film picture of a declining industry.
Today, experts are warning.
Okay, and then let's just do a brief little history on what happened when other countries and other cities saw how Los Angeles, California, had such a booming film business, and that they wanted a piece of that. And so in the 90s, BC, British Columbia, decided we're going to offer really lucrative film tax credits in order to lure productions to Canada. So the Canadian government actually introduced some of the world's first film tax credits, which meant that if you came to Canada, they would give you money for shooting there. And so it led to work for people who were local, which meant that they were not moving to a place like Los Angeles and were instead staying in Canada. It meant that some people started to move from LA and go to Canada because there was work there. And because that was successful, other states and then other countries started to follow suit. So you had Louisiana, which really established itself as like Hollywood of the South almost, because they were among the first southern states to introduce really, really, really lucrative tax credits. They became a production hub. A lot of work started moving to Louisiana. And then Georgia, right? Atlanta, Georgia became a hub as well. And so eventually, you have Louisiana, you have Canada, the UK, Australia, who are just continuing to enhance their already very lucrative tax credits. Georgia, New York. And now what's happening is people will move. Let's say you go to Los Angeles to Atlanta. Oh shit. Well, now the UK has just increased their already insane tax credits. So production is moving from Atlanta to the UK. So if you want work, then you're going to have to move again. And so it decentralizes production, and it leads to a very unstable having to move around from place to place life if you want to work. And when Atlanta really started to pop off, you had, The Walking Dead, for instance, really, really popular shows that led to a boom in local workers, crew members getting consistent work. People who had moved to LA moved back to Atlanta or decided not to move to LA, but then work started to move out of Atlanta. And so again, it's just this like jumping from place to place because other places just keep going, oh, you know what? You're doing 40%. We're going to do 45% and throw in an extra little sprinkle. And so that sounds better than what we're being offered over here. So we're going to shoot there. It is cheaper to like fly people to Ireland to shoot something than it is to shoot in, say, Los Angeles. So a lot of shows, Rob Lowe, for instance, is on a game show that shoots in Ireland. They will fly people out every single episode, and it's still cheaper than it is to shoot the show on a soundstage in LA. A very talented friend I met 2 years ago has an impressive resume in art department, and you'd assume she lives in Hollywood, but she's never set foot in the U.S. Yes. So what this led to was less people moving to LA, more people moving out of LA because they're trying to follow the work. And so this has been, this was a pretty steady drip, but now it's an exodus. And the sentiment throughout Los Angeles is one that is very bleak. It's a lot of people, even if you've had a successful career for decades, who are very worried about the state of things. And people are saying that Los Angeles feels less like the glamorous film capital of the world that it used to be, and more like a Rust Belt crater.
That Los Angeles could become the new Detroit, a city that believed the automobile industry would always be there. Well, Valerie Defer, Pierrick Laurent.
And what happened when Canada in the 90s introduced these really great tax credits, California was like, doesn't matter. We don't care. We're Los Angeles. This is where Hollywood is. All the stars live here. Who cares if Canada is doing what they're doing, and who cares if they're starting to have a production hub there. We're Los Angeles, like, we'll be fine. We're Hollywood, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, Hollywood. Yeah, so that was the attitude, and unfortunately, California has been quite slow to catching up, and now we find ourselves in a pretty dire position where production has increasingly been declining. And for some people, it's worse now than it was when the industry shut down because of COVID.
With Wasim Cornet, revisit Los Angeles for France 24.
These 9 letters have come to symbolize a city and an entire industry that has dominated the entertainment world for over a century. But today, in these hills, the shots that ring out aren't those from a Western movie. Believe it or not, Dutch Merrick is a prop master in Hollywood.
I want the web of your hand up in the hilt of the gun. There you go. Finger on the trigger when you're ready.
But for the past few months, this has become his main activity, teaching firearm shooting, just like he did over 30 years ago before working for the film industry.
You have a very nice grouping, and you're a first star.
Left to same.
Oh, shit. Hey, it's like in Hollywood. We're going to work on the next stage. Every weekend, we bring people out here and teach them basic gun safety. And with no film business to rely on, this has now become my primary income, oddly enough. I never thought I would say that. I always thought that the film business would be my entire life, my entire career. But here I am, back to the good old days of teaching people how to shoot. And I love doing it. I really, really love doing it. But it's not film work. It's not the career that I chose.
The entire sector has been affected. His student Marissa is an actress. She hasn't had a role in months.
I've been really just been like working survival jobs. So it's been disappointing, and it's I still am really hopeful that it's going to come back, but there's no kind of indication that's true.
Like, you have showrunners now. Excuse me. Showrunners who are competing for staff writing positions. Actors who, you know, have had major roles in film or recurrent, you know, major roles in television, who are competing for smaller roles. So it knocks everybody down because the people who are at the higher end of the totem pole, who have, you know, a lot of success, are having to compete for jobs that they have already bypassed in their careers.
Everyone is either leaving or finding something else that they can do to supplement.
Is Hollywood on the verge of becoming deserted? The industry is going through a crisis not seen since the 1960s and the rise of television. But this crisis has actually been a series of crises. The pandemic paralyzed filming for 18 months. Then, the recovery was stopped in its tracks by the historic writers and actors strikes in 2023. Filming was shut down for 148 days to secure better wages. Since then, the production of films and series has plummeted. This company has been hit hard by the drop in activity.
We started with 2 of these trucks in 2006, and then now in...
Oh my God, I thought that was Gavin Newsom for a second.
You know, we're up to 90 or something now.
Over the course of 2 decades, Wes Bailey built a thriving business by renting filming equipment to all of Hollywood. But in the past 2 years, he's had to let go of a quarter of his employees. Wes himself hasn't earned anything in a year and a half.
Los Angeles is down about 40.
You know what? Times are tough, even for old Gavin, which is why he launched that podcast. Times are tough, so go subscribe. Go give him money. He needs money. Actors setting up small productions written by friends with small union crews so they can stay over the annual $20K. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who work in the industry, and they're saying all that they can get are freelance jobs, if they can even get those. And it's not a lot of pay. It's having to like send 10 emails in a row saying, "Can you please pay me?" It's not consistent.
3% over the last 2 years. I think we're down 38%. We were down 20% in 2023, and it fell another 18% in 2024. So we had to downsize. People had to do 2 jobs, 3 jobs, just so that we wouldn't close our doors.
Before the crisis, Wes even built this 3,000 square meter studio. Inside, he meticulously recreated recurring locations in films and shows.
It really serves a project to get a lot of different shots, and you can go from hospital to jail to police, bullpen. It's kind of meant to be everything, to the interrogation room, lineup. We even have a morgue.
Each set can be rented out for €3,500 per day, but Wes is having a hard time finding clients.
The plan was to work with a lot of the true crime shows. You know, if you got Grey's Anatomy or big TV shows, you would have a much more guaranteed long-term project. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get as many of those as we had hoped, especially once COVID hit. It was pretty much done.
The pandemic and its restrictions, followed by new contracts that stemmed from the strikes, have made filming much more expensive. To compensate, Wes now hosts projects like this one.
We good? Action.
A vertical miniseries produced by a Chinese company for social media. For Wes, Hollywood bears significant responsibility for the current situation.
I think there's some self-inflicted reasons. I think we trained our competition in other states because when we didn't go back to work as quickly after COVID as some of the states did, the producers made the decision to shoot where they could, and they learned to like other places as well.
And those other places aren't even that far. A short 2-hour flight from Los
I just have to clarify, though, that this was not, oh, everything was fine, and then the pandemic and everything that's happened in the last 5 years has caused these problems. It has not caused it, to be clear. Okay, this was not a, oh man, LA was really slow to return to work because COVID cautions, and we're losing out because other cities and states didn't care about COVID the way we did. No, I mean, New York had very rigid COVID protections, but New York has been competing with LA because of the state tax credits they've been offering. And the thing about the tax credits too is, let's say, so I think New York has just bumped it up to 40% and a cap of 800 million, which is massive. And so a lot of times these tax credits will be offered in cash. So you get 30 to 40%, depending on what location you're at, of a project's budget back in the amount of cash payments. And it doesn't matter whether the production generates significant tax revenue in return, you're still guaranteed that. So traditional tax breaks will reduce what you owe. Okay, so if it's a 40% tax break, that means that you owe 40% less. But a lot of these tax incentives, specifically for film productions, offer them as these credits are cash payments. So in New York in the last year, shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Severance, they got $40 to $50 million in cash payments that is funded by it's funded by the taxpayers of said state.
Los Angeles is the state of New Mexico. Its capital, Albuquerque, is home to 800,000 people and attracts new projects each year. It all began in 2006 with the success of Breaking Bad and its spin-off, Better Call Saul.
So this house on the right was in Better Call Saul, is his brother Chuck. That's Chuck's house there. I think we set it on fire in the end. There was a scene, spoiler alert.
Cindy McCrossan was a location scout. In total, she worked on 50 episodes.
Being a filming location for a show like Breaking Bad made a huge difference. It was steady, consistent work. It was an incredibly popular, award-winning show that brought a lot of attention to Albuquerque.
Today, Cindy manages filming permits for the city. Over the years, she has seen major productions come to Albuquerque, drawn to a wide variety of settings, like this abandoned warehouse.
There's been so many films shot in this building. Some big movies, Avengers and Terminator, Salvation, and a lot of the television series. You know, most every script you get, there's a warehouse where a drug deal happens or the bad guys are hiding. And so just to have this available to film is a great asset. Albuquerque can offer other backdrops to films besides just a desert landscape. You know, we're so much more than just that.
But there are also major financial incentives to shoot in New Mexico. Unlike in Hollywood, the permits issued by Cindy are free, and productions that employ local crew members get a 30% tax credit.
It really encouraged the state to build their workforce, to build the infrastructure as far as stages, vendors, and it's just been steady growth since then.
The ongoing renovations on a building nearby prove that the state is betting on the long term.
Why are seasons of shows so short compared to back then? A couple reasons. Mostly money. It is, especially as streaming took over cable, and we had the streaming boom, where these companies like Netflix wanted to offer more, so to keep subscribers, because that was how they measured their growth, was adding new subscribers. It was like, oh, we're gonna offer as much content to you as possible, and so we'll greenlight a bunch of shit. We'll have, shorter seasons. We might just cancel stuff. It's less risky, yeah. But ultimately, it's about money, so it's maximizing the amount of money you put forth. Now all these streaming companies have ad-supported models, which they used to not have. But because when streaming took over, the whole promise was like, oh, we're not going to have ads. We're not going to have commercials, right? You pay a subscription price, just one subscription price, then you get access to all this stuff. So we're going to try to offer you as much as we can to keep drawing in more and more subscribers, to have all this variety, right?
School will be training film workers for the future, and that works with our state incentives so that local talent, local crew will be employed by the industry.
Each year, filming in New Mexico brings over $800 million to the state's economy. One of the symbols of this resounding success are these brand new studios, 400,000 square meters, that were acquired by Netflix in 2018. In exchange for local aid, the streaming giant promised to invest $2 billion over 10 years and already employs 4,000 people. With its massive and cost-effective offer, Netflix has sparked fierce competition among studios, pushing many to try to cut costs.
Hello, Valerie, and welcome to ABQ Castle.
Yeah, so when the streaming bubble went pachoo, these companies, these studios, and these streaming companies were like, okay, we need to spend less money. We need to spend less money so that we can make more money. And Netflix, Amazon, Apple, all these tech companies that have jumped into the film business, they don't give a fuck where they film. They don't care if they're filming something that's supposed to be set in LA, but they're doing it in Australia. Their now only purpose is to be cost efficient. And so if they, a lot of times now too, they're not even crunching the numbers for Los Angeles. They're just totally cutting LA out. When they're crunching the numbers for like, okay, should we film in Atlanta? Should we film in the UK? Should we film in Australia? Should we film blah, blah, blah? They're not even including LA in their like offers of, all right, this is the cost. We crunch numbers. This is what it will cost to shoot
in this state, in this city, because the cost of shooting in LA, usually the difference is just so enormous that they're not even doing that anymore.
Studios.
Tim Pfeiffer already owns a film set in Los Angeles. 2 years ago, when demand declined, he chose to open a second one here.
If you were to build this out in the real world, it would probably, I don't know, take a month and a crew of 20, where here we have one guy and it takes him a week.
This technology makes it possible to use a virtual set in real time, and the possibilities are endless.
All right, now we're in a basketball gym.
A basketball court, a futuristic diner, or an airport terminal. Anything is possible.
And you can also mix in, do a few tricks, as you're about to see here. So I'm actually sitting on this airport chair that doesn't exist.
Don't you think a production that was thinking of filming outside LA would come here instead because they're going to save money?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, people are going to go to the best, most cost-efficient place. And if that's us, well, we hope it is.
Cutting-edge technology paired with tax breaks, the ideal recipe to speed up the exodus of film and TV productions.
Also, for local and state politicians, they love offering up tax credits because it's a much faster, easier way to create jobs. So, for instance, all this talk about, oh, we're going to open an iPhone plant, and we're going to open iPhone factories in America. Okay, iPhones are not going to be made in China anymore. They're going to be made here in America by Americans. Well, that takes years. It takes cajillions of dollars. So it's a huge investment in both time and money. And then also, like, you got to get people to want to make iPhones, okay? A lot of people aren't in the United States of America are not necessarily looking to scratch that itch, versus film production jobs. That is something that people, like the type of work that people want, that they're looking for. And it's a lot faster. It's a lot easier to create those jobs. And so a bill that offers tax credits, it's popular. Like, politicians love to propose those types of bills and throw their names onto them and then be like, look at all these jobs that we created.
Especially as Los Angeles' image continues to take a hit.
Woke Hollywood.
Last January, the city faced the worst wildfires in its history. Pacific Palisades, home to many celebrities, saw major destruction. So did Altadena, a middle-class neighborhood where many Hollywood workers live. Dutch Merrick, the prop master and firearms instructor, lost everything here.
Part of me feels like, okay, I'm coming home. And then as I get closer and closer, I see all this destruction. And I realize there's no home to come back to. Not for any of us. This whole area is wiped out.
A total of 12,000 structures were destroyed in the fires, including his home.
Yeah, so that's another major problem with California, is that insurance companies have moved out of the state, right? They're not issuing new policies anymore. They're denying claims. If you do get any money, it's not nearly the cost of rebuilding. So a lot of these neighborhoods that have historically been home to people who've worked in the industry for decades have been destroyed. And like, look, if you're Tom Hanks or another A-list, super rich, super famous person, you're fine. Okay. It's not a big deal. But this has absolutely been damaging to a lot of people who are not Tom Hanks, and also damaging to the production infrastructure that is one thing LA has always held on to. It's like we are built for production. because we've been the film capital since the inception of the film industry. So, you know, like 100 years, LA has built out this city to be able to produce film and TV. So this reduces that ability, and it accelerates the issue of living in a city like Los Angeles, where you don't know if your house is going to burn down. It's like, it's so expensive to live here. We have these issues that are specific to California, and we're dealing with, you know, insurance companies leaving the state, etc. So all of these problems compounding.
This was our garage. As you can see, it's still got a bit of a garage door, a little bit of structure still standing. This was my motorcycle.
Dutch also lost all of his gear, including the fake revolvers he uses on set. On the night of the fire, he stayed for hours trying to save the home.
And that's the thing, is like, if Los Angeles keeps changing because our very historic neighborhoods are burning down, then LA loses its special aesthetic, right? One of the amazing things about shooting in LA is that it's Los Angeles. It's hard to recreate LA going outside of Los Angeles. There's always been just a unique look and a vibe. And so as these disasters, like the fires in January, rip through the city and permanently change a lot of these historic areas, and as LA will rebuild, it's going to look less like historic Los Angeles that was you know, a very special place to shoot. You didn't answer my question, bro. Fucking look it up. Okay, fuck off. You're so fucking annoying. Seriously.
Oh, hey, bro, here's a question for you. Oh, you didn't answer, which means you don't know what it is. I'm so smart. I know you're talking about something that has nothing to do with the question that I'm asking you because I'm a dumb piece of shit.
Hey, bro, go use Google, or guess what? Go use ChatGPT, which I'm sure you use to, like, I don't know, create a porn girlfriend for yourself. So go use ChatGPT and look up the fucking definition.
He bought with his wife.
This is one of the hoses I used. It's all melted.
Yeah, go ask your ChatGPT girlfriend.
But there was no stopping the flames.
I was in love with this house. I was proud of the fact that it was the first house I actually bought. I've been a renter all my life. It sucks. Totally sucks.
For Dutch and many Hollywood workers, the fires hit at the worst possible time.
Over the last 2 years, I've come to the dawning that Hollywood may not be here in the form that it was. And I have so many friends that in order to try to salvage their career, they moved to Albuquerque, they moved to Atlanta, they moved to England, Mexico. I have friends that have moved all over the world chasing the film circus. And just as many friends that said, that's it, I'm out, I'm done.
How do you think the LA Olympics will affect the industry? I think Los Angeles should not be hosting the Olympics. I think the bad outweighs the good.
To get by, Dutch regularly goes to a branch of IATSE, the Hollywood Workers Union. He comes here to pick up groceries and basic necessities.
Good morning.
Also, like, how the fuck are we even... We're going to host the Olympics when we have a current administration that's deporting people? That's like that's just put out another travel ban. That's like, sorry, if you come from these countries that are largely Muslim and African, can't come here. It's like, so we're going to host the Olympics and we're not letting people into this country, and we're kicking people out of this country depending on where they're from, depending on what they've said. What happens if an athlete, God forbid, has tweeted about Israel and Palestine and is critical of Israel?
It's in your fridge in your room.
How are you? Dutch.
Sam.
Nice to meet
I'm
you.
the mutual aid pantry organizer. So it's not.
Volunteers like Sam see about 40 families come through each week, stocking up on fruit, vegetables, and canned goods, all donated by local supermarkets.
In 2023, in response to the strikes, our members were like really hurting financially. First, it started with like a measly little shelf, but we've since expanded to have nonprofit partners who bring us a ton of fresh food. So it's turned into a huge resource for our membership.
Appreciate all your efforts.
It's essential help, but Dutch knows it won't be enough in the long run.
One of my fears is that there's this sort of life cycle of disaster where when it's at a peak, everyone's aware of the problem and they want to help, and then it starts to die down, but we're still going to need assistance.
Hollywood's unions appear to be powerless in the face of the industry's decline. 2 years after they negotiated new benefits with the studios, they now acknowledge a deeper structural issue.
We tried to balance the fact that our workers deserve more, deserve a safe, healthy health and pension plan, but they also need to not price ourselves out of the market. And I felt like we came to a compromise with the companies, and everybody was relatively happy about that, but we are still more expensive than a lot of the other market.
To try to save Hollywood, a group joined forces a few months ago.
Okay, guys, it's time to open the gates.
Leading the coalition is Wes, the head of the equipment rental company.
All right, everybody, welcome. We're gonna go ahead and start moving in. Let's come on in.
Today, he's holding a major rally at his studio. Dozens of directors, actors, and crew members.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with the strikes, before anyone's like, oh, well, we shouldn't have had the strikes because isn't it better to make less money when you have work? Where no, people need to be paid fairly. These companies cannot be exploiting laborers. Like, that should never be something that we allow to slide. And remember, this was not about the multi-millionaire actors who live in LA. This was about the 99.9% of people in SAG-AFTRA and in WGA who are working class. Who are like just barely making enough money to get health insurance. And a lot of them can't even get health insurance because they don't make enough money. So no, it's never good to be like, yeah, let's just let workers be exploited so that we can ensure that they at least have jobs. You let them exploit, they'll continue to make them pay less and less until there's nothing. Yeah. Now, there are situations where shows and films would be like, they'll go to their talent, okay? Especially talent that is making way, way, way above the minimum basic agreement. And remember, the contract was for the NBA. We're talking about the minimum basic agreement. So contracts for people whose names that you know because they're famous, those contracts are not being negotiated, at all near to what the minimum wage agreement is. They are making so much above that. And so on some shows and films where they go, look, if we want to film in LA, then we're going to have to offer you a tiered system of pay. We can't negotiate this. This is a take it or leave it in order to film in the city. And a lot of actors, will take a deal like that because it's preferable than like having to go live in Atlanta for 6 months to film a show. They're like, yeah, I'll take less. I'll negotiate not as I would in the past, because I would prefer to stay close to my home. Like, I want to be home for dinner. I want to sleep in my own bed.
Shown up. Their goal is to push authorities to help make LA competitive again, and some elected officials have answered the call.
Around the city.
I'm trying to change the dynamics in Washington, so we're focusing on the money and bringing it back here.
In Washington, Donald Trump is reportedly planning to tax films shot abroad. Meanwhile, California is considering doubling its tax credits for local productions. For Wes, only strong collective action can save the industry.
When we started out, politicians actually didn't want to sign up for this event. But as the numbers grew, as they saw that it became a bigger and bigger deal, suddenly we had to actually turn away a number of council members, a number of politicians. There's so much desperation that people are really excited to see a change.
Now it's up to Hollywood to write its next chapter, a story no one wants to see end like this.
Okay, so let's see about this bill today that passed the California State Assembly. A bill set to dramatically expand California's incentives for film and television production companies to shoot in-state has passed the CA Assembly, albeit without a mention of the $750 million program cap that was promised by Gavin Newsom. Yeah, so the issue is that right now it's an annual cap of $330 million, which means a lot of productions get turned away because there's only so many productions that can get this incentive before you hit the cap. And that's why a big part of what grassroots organizations and the unions have been pushing for is a doubling of that cap to $750. But there was not mention of that as the bill passed today. So let me see what's happening here. Legislators voted 73-1 on Tuesday to pass AB 1138 and send it to the Senate, with Assembly member Carl DeMaio of San Diego representing the sole no vote. He's like, I hate movies. A movie... My mother left with a movie once and never came back. And she was like, this is your new father now. The vote comes after the state Senate passed a similar bill focused on the state's entertainment tax credit program earlier in the day, with the government's promised cash infusion absent from the amended legislation. The move adds momentum to studio and union-backed attempts to provide a shot in the arm to filming in California, even as the state faces significant budget deficit concerns. Newsom has pledged support to one of California's signature industries, even while existing or proposed state services are likely to be cut or pulled back as a result of the budget situation. Here's an idea. How about we cut the LAPD's budget? How about that? I've got an idea. That's necessary, argued the bill's advocates on Tuesday. California's iconic film and television industry is in crisis, said bill co-author Assembly member Rick Zabar, who represents an area in LA stretching from Hollywood to Santa Monica before the vote. No, they need tanks. No, they need 40% of the budget. Yeah, obviously that's the Los Angeles budget, and we're talking, of course, about the California budget here, but you know what? The math adds up. The hardworking men and women and the small businesses that have built an industry, and that's the thing, though, is like, this is such a massive industry from... it's not just performers, but it's makeup artists, it's craft services, it's truck drivers. There's a lot of people who work within the entertainment industry in Los Angeles. Catering, yeah. Costumes, that is intrinsic to California's identity are experiencing depression-level areas of unemployment and loss of business as our iconic business is being lured away to other states and other countries with better credit programs. Assemblymember Tom Lackey, Mike Gibson, and Sharon Quirk-Silva emphasized that the proposed legislation was a jobs bill, not a handout to Hollywood. What's happened is we got a little arrogant on this film situation. We thought we're all that and a bag of chips. You know what? Bring that back. We thought we were all that and a bag of chips. And you know what? The other states decided that they would compete with us, said Lackey, who represents the high desert. And not only that they would compete with us, but that they would take this industry. He said the legislation won't save Hollywood, but it was an important step to make California more competitive with regard to incentives programs in other states and countries. But the bill's one critic, DeMaio, disagreed. He framed the proposed legislation as an ineffective solution that essentially sought to reward influential political allies in Hollywood.
We should make California prosperous for all, and it's not by giving out the gifts of tax credits to those that have influence, those that might make the best case to the politicians in Sacramento, but rather policies that will flatten the cost curve. He singled out California's heavily unionized Hollywood workforce. Oh, so he hates unions. And regulations as the reason why productions fled the state. See, that's bullshit, okay? That's what I'm talking about, where there are bad faith actors like DeMaio who are going to try and blame the unions and be like, sorry, California having some of the world's strongest union protections, that is the reason that work has gone outside of the state. The high labor costs because of these union protections means that California is losing work. And so therefore, we have to reduce the power of these unions. The amended bill removes mention of Newsom's pledge to increase the film and television incentives cap from $330 million to $750 million annually. Advocates say that figure doesn't need to be in the bill as long as Newsom's budget is passed. That $750 million figure survived in his revised budget unveiled in May, even as providing Medi-Cal benefits to undocumented immigrants and Medi-Cal coverage for weight loss drugs like Ozempic did not. The amended bill also expands the tax credits program for training workers from historically underrepresented communities to work in the film and television business by opening up the program to additional nonprofits. In a sign that none of this is a done deal and the situation remains fluid, industry unions and grassroots groups Stay in LA have encouraged their members to continue writing to and calling their state representatives to support the bills. This is one of the many steps we have ahead of us, a coalition of entertainment unions told members after the Assembly and Senate bills passed on Tuesday. Well, you know, it's like, okay, so if California keeps their cap where it is, like New York just last month raised its cap to 800 million. Georgia does not even have a cap. So if the cap does not double, which is what the unions and groups like Stay in LA have been pushing for, and that Newsom did has pushed for the overall budget, then it's not going to be as effective of a move. Yeah, don't worry, you guys. Donald Trump is going to save the entertainment industry. Do you know who he's been listening to? Do you know who's been whispering in his ear? Jon Voight. Jon Voight is who is one of his designated Hollywood ambassadors. That is someone who straight up has the ear of Donald Trump and has been trying to pitch him on these plans to revitalize the industry, which of course is where you know how Trump's whole thing is like, whoever is whispering in his ear last, that's where he just turns around and then like says whatever they're saying to him. He's very much so a child in the sense that he will make announcements and decisions based on whatever the last person who has his ear has said to him. Like when Laura Loomer had his ear and everyone was like, what the fuck is going on here? And so the idea for a tariff of 100% on all movies produced in foreign lands, that was absolutely That absolutely came from Jon Voight. Whoever whispers last whispers loudest. Yeah, and the one thing that Voight has proposed, which would be good, was a federal film tax credit of 10%. So that can be added to state incentives, and then plus a 5 to 10% bonus credit for shooting in, quote, economically depressed areas. That would include California, but that federal credit likely will not make it through a Congress controlled by Republicans, because we're not going to do anything to benefit woke Hollywood. Also, it would help, but not guaranteed to stop production from bleeding out of LA, as other states would also have that federal tax credit and just have that on top of like their already lucrative state tax credits. There's another famous California governor who was anti-union. Gruesome Newsom is Reagan reincarnate. Okay, so what else can I say? What else can we talk about? Hollywood. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I don't want to like fearmonger or anything, but it's tough times. It's pretty tough times out here. You know, if you live in LA, I know you feel this. Like if you work in the industry, if you're you know, graduating from school and you're looking to enter the industry, I also know that it feels like a pretty shitty time, and it's why the kind of the offer, the assistance that something like AI seems to provide is becoming more lucrative to people who are like, well, I don't know if I can do this aside from, I don't know if I can do this if I don't jump on the AI bandwagon, because otherwise, you know, otherwise how can I make movies? How can I be a part of this industry? And I feel like I don't have a concrete answer here. You know, it's like I see how it can be a tool to assist people, but also how it could be ultimately the undoing of an industry that's already struggling. I don't know. All right, well, let's jump and talk about something else. Let's talk about Jonathan Joss again. So I just feel so disgusted by a lot of the coverage around Jonathan Joss, and people are trying to erase the hate crime aspect of his murder. They're trying to act as if him being a queer Indigenous man who was married to a trans Latino man has nothing to do with why he was killed. And instead, like, I have seen things range from, you know, this was not a hate crime, all the way to pretty much blaming him and saying, well, he was a problem and the neighbors had had enough. And it's not saying that, you know, you should take your gun out and shoot somebody, but he was the problem on the block. And that is ignoring the fact that his husband said that they had been repeatedly ignored by law enforcement when they tried to reach out to them for help, when they were getting threats, when they were getting threats from not just this neighbor that ended up killing Jonathan Joss, but multiple neighbors. And how Jonathan was really struggling because he was financially in a tough spot, that his mental health from years of bigotry had taken its toll, and how that mental, like the mental health issue of it all, rather than invoking empathy and people understanding how all of this, all of the violence that Jonathan Joss had been subjected to led up to the ultimate violent act, which was taking his life. And it's like they can't, instead they're like, oh yeah, something was wrong with that guy. He was really loud. He would march back and forth yelling, blah, 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 blah. So this is one of the only good pieces I've seen. And of course it's in Them magazine. Jonathan Joss's husband says fatal shooting was homophobic hate crime. He was shot and killed on Sunday on when what his husband says was a homophobic hate crime. Police have charged Joss's neighbor Sigfredo Alvarez Queja with murder. He admitted it right away. He was like, yeah, I shot him. According to the New York Times, Joss was of Apache and Comanche descent. He's best known for voicing John Redcorn on the long-running animated sitcom King of the Hill and playing Chief Ken Hotate in the NBC comedy Parks and Rec. And I don't know if you saw Chris Pratt's statement, but man, it is so crazy to start off by saying, damn, R.I.P. You find out that someone you worked with was murdered, and the first thing you say is, damn. There was just something that felt very fuck Chris Pratt about it. Here, I'll pull up his statement just so you can see. Chris Pratt mourns his Parks and Rec co-star Jonathan Joss. Damn. R.I.P. Jonathan. Always a kind dude. He played Ken Hotate in Parks and was also in Magnificent... Oh my God, I can't speak. Was also in Magnificent Seven. Sad to see. Prayers up. Hug your loved ones. I hate the way this man talks. Prayers up. Damn. It was an Insta story. Yeah, that was an Insta story. I also think that like anybody who is commenting on this and is not denouncing homophobia, what are you doing? Come on. Let's get it the fuck together. According to the San Antonio Police Department, officers were dispatched to a shooting in progress around 7 p.m. on June 1st. When they arrived at the scene, they found Joss, who had been shot multiple times. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Ume Zero, thank you for the 20 months. In a June 2nd Facebook post shared to Joss's account, his husband Tristan wrote that the shooting occurred while the couple were checking mail at their former home, which he said was burned down after 2 years of an openly homophobic harassment campaign. De Gonzalez is also transgender, as he confirmed in comments to The Independent on June 3rd. He and Joss were married on Valentine's Day this year. De Gonzalez claimed in his Facebook post that although the couple reported the threats to law enforcement multiple times, police took no further action. Oh, you mean the same police? The same fucking police who are like, we investigated and we didn't find a hate crime. Yeah, it's giving we investigated ourselves and we found no wrongdoing. So the same police who had ignored multiple calls for assistance because Tristan Gonzalez and Jonathan Joss said that they had been the recipients of a harassment campaign that was openly homophobic. That same police department. De Gonzalez claimed in his Facebook post that according to a GoFundMe page, the house was Joss's childhood home and 3 of the couple's dogs were killed in the fire. According to Gonzalez, upon returning to the site of their former home, the couple saw the skull of one of their dogs and its harness placed nearby, causing both of them severe emotional distress. And it's funny because I have seen a couple of the neighbors. One neighbor took a video of him and they're like, yeah, he was crazy. He was walking around and he was waving a thing and he was yelling. It's like, I wonder why. Because from the sound of it, he, as well as his husband, have experienced severe emotional distress due to
20 months
their house
watching the
being
Elden Lord
fucked
Slay
with
Week when
and then
Juan
burning
Juan Hart.
down and having to deal with homophobia and racism his entire life. Police say that meanwhile, a man alleged to be Keja approached and started yelling violent homophobic slurs at them before raising a gun and firing. Police say that they confiscated a rifle from him, and he allegedly told officers, I shot him. He was released on a $200,000 bond on June 2nd. And then this is Gonzalez, who spoke to The Independent. While I'm holding him, he has the gun pointed over me, and he's laughing, saying, oh, you love him? Yoto. And that is Spanish for the F slur. I never knew the word until I came to Texas, and then I heard it a lot. As NBC News reported, Joss and Dee Gonzalez had been at odds with some of their neighbors for several years, especially Keja, whom Joss had accused of burning down his home in January. In the wake of the shooting, some neighbors described Joss's behavior to reporters as erratic. Gonzalez told The Independent that he and Joss were loud but never violent, and said that Joss was dealing with trauma and had been subjected to years of racist and homophobic remarks from neighbors. Jonathan and I had no weapons, Gonzalez wrote in his Facebook post. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Gonzalez added that his focus is now on protecting Jonathan's legacy and honoring the life that we built together. If your concern is how we coped with trauma or how loudly we speak when recounting injustice and being ignored by authorities, then you never truly cared about my husband, he continued. Gonzalez added that he found it really sad how people treat other people when they're having a mental health crisis or going through trauma. It's okay to be a little sad, but if you're in a state where you're yelling or whatever, that doesn't get the same grace. Right. And so there are so many people, and the way that this has been mostly reported on, that are focusing on the mental health crisis that Jonathan Joss had been enduring and using it almost as a way to blame him for being murdered, instead of examining why would this man have been experiencing a mental health crisis? Perhaps is it because of all the trauma that he has endured? Perhaps is it because for a couple years he and his husband had been ignored by the authorities and had gotten into confrontations with the neighbors that they had reported to the authorities? On social media, Native advocacy organizations and influencers are calling attention to Joss's Native and queer identities. According to The Guardian, a 2021 report released by the Sovereign Bodies Institute and the California Rural Indian Health Board found that of 18 respondents who identified it as Native LGBTQ2, nearly 90% reported having experienced 2 or more forms of violence. That's right, intersectionality. Experiencing violence for being Native and experiencing violence for being gay. In March of 2025, a report from the Human Rights Campaign stated that LGBTQ and Two-Spirit Indigenous people face disproportionately high rates of violence. In a statement shared to social media, San Antonio PD wrote that despite online claims of Joss's murder being a hate crime, currently in the investigation has found no evidence to indicate that Mr. Joss's murder was related to his sexual orientation. SAPD handled these allegations very seriously and have thoroughly reviewed all available information. Should any new evidence come to light, the suspect will be charged accordingly. Speaking to The Independent, Gonzalez vehemently disputed SAPD's statement. They ignored us, refused to file police reports for harassment claims for about 2 years, and now they're trying to say that it wasn't a hate crime. It's like when the police investigate themselves and find that they did nothing wrong. Do you like Trump? Hell yeah, brother. Whether or not something is legally classified as a hate, this is important. Whether or not something is legally classified as a hate crime does not in itself determine whether bigotry, discrimination, or marginalization played a role in a violent act. There's a long history in this country of violent acts being done to marginalized people and it not being classified as a hate crime. That does not mean then that bigotry did not play a role in the violence, especially when you consider it in the context of how historically that element has been erased from acts of violence done unto the most marginalized in this country. As the Texas organization American Indians in Texas at the Spanish colonial missions said in their statement about Joss's death, Jonathan's death is also a reflection of broader ongoing violence that Indigenous communities continue to face. As we grieve Jonathan's loss, we must also recognize the layers of invisibility and vulnerability that exist for those living at the intersections of gender, identity, and indigeneity. No form of hatred, discrimination, or violence towards any identity is acceptable. And the thing is, too, it's like, okay, so you have people who are like, Jonathan was the problem. He was crazy. He was violent. He and his husband caused all these problems. Who's dead here? Jonathan Joss is dead. And meanwhile, you have his husband who's like, yeah, Jonathan was experiencing a mental health crisis because of all this trauma that he had experienced and the fact that we had been ignored by the authorities, that we've been dealing with these neighbors, including the one who murdered Jonathan for a couple years, whose house burned down, who was shot multiple times with a gun, who had violence done unto them. Why is it so hard to make this connection? It's not. Why don't you want to acknowledge the disproportionate levels of violence that are done to Native people in this country, that are done to LGBTQ people in this country, that are done to Native LGBTQ people in this country? Why do you refuse to acknowledge the reality? Is it because you're part of the problem? Probably just asking people who didn't actually hear the investigation, probably just asking people who didn't actually hear what the murderer said versus asking the other victim of this hate crime who was literally there, repeated the words the murderer said, cops. Well, it looks like we'll never know. Right. It's like, oh, okay. So we are taking the word of the neighbors who, according to Jonathan Joss's husband, Tristan, said have been harassing them for a couple years. We're taking their word, whether it's, you're the SAPD or the media, and being like, well, according to the neighbors, when it's like, maybe we should listen to the person whose husband was murdered and who was there. And instead you're listening to a neighbor who's like, well, I didn't see it, but I can tell you that Jonathan Joss was a problem. Yeah, because the husband is clearly biased. Like, what does the husband have to gain here? Jonathan is dead. Their house burned down. They have lost so much. And in fact, this is what he wrote. This is what he wrote on Facebook. While I deeply appreciate the support from everyone, I wanted to let you know that I've had a couple offers regarding covering expenses for a celebration of life. I have absolutely no plans yet on that, but I will try to keep everyone updated. There's not a need to donate to the GoFundMe, but I want everyone to remember the joy and love Jonathan has brought and will continue to bring forever. I have my essentials covered, and our family in San Antonio is taking care of me until I get back to South Carolina. Instead of donating, Jonathan and I would both rather you spread the word about the consistent injustice done to him, to us, and to our dogs. We had so many beautiful plans for the future. This sounds like a person whose goal here is to make sure that what happened to his husband is not erased. That not only is his husband's life remembered, but that the reasons for his death are plainly stated. It's like people sympathize because your husband's murdered. So as far as the claims of, oh, he's just looking for sympathy, well, guess what? His husband was murdered. He's going to get that sympathy. So it's disgusting to be like, oh, he's looking for extra sympathy by lying and saying that this was a hate crime, that they had been harassed by their neighbors and that the cops had ignored them. And here's the other thing. What is more common? What tends to happen more when you are a marginalized person in this country? Does it happen to be, is it more common that you are lying about the discrimination and harassment and violence that is done to you, or that these things are done and that law enforcement ignores you or is a part of it, and that you're ignored, that you are silenced, that you're not taken seriously, that this violence is so normalized and pushed to the side that when someone is murdered because of their identity, that it yet again is like turned into a victim blaming situation. Like, what's the thing that happens all the time? I will tell you, it's not minorities lying about being harassed, especially when that has led to a murder. He's dead. He's dead. He was shot multiple times. God, it just disgusts me. These fuckers online in the media, the San Antonio Police Department, it's disgusting. In a June 2nd statement, Parks and Rec star Nick Offerman said that the sitcom's cast has been texting together about Joss's death all day. We're just heartbroken. Okay, and then there, let me see. I think I retweeted this. Yes. Okay, this is Tristan's sister who went on TikTok.
I told myself I wasn't going to do this, but I keep seeing misinformation about my brother and his husband everywhere. I do not care what San Antonio police say. They can call it what they want to, but we all know that this was a hate crime. They have been getting homophobic harassment since before they were married, not only in San Antonio, but here in South Carolina and in Los Angeles. Also, there's been a lot of speculation about my brother's age, even before Jonathan's passing. He did not marry a kid. My brother is 31. Their house had burned down in January. They were only there to check the mail, where they found the skull of their dead dog and the harness on the mailbox, which is something that the media has been leaving out. I'm tired of the media dismissing it as an argument between neighbors, because this is what they're not telling you.
Yeah, Jonathan Joss asked for help, but nobody came. This is a tale as old as time. A tale as old as time. This is the reality of being marginalized in this country. And a lot of times, because not only will nobody come, but it could lead to violence from those who you are calling for help. Queer, black, brown. There are many people in this country who know full well that the authorities are not there to protect them. Because their lives aren't seen as valuable. Right? Like, Jonathan Joss has been discriminated against his entire life. He has been the recipient of bigotry his entire life. That's just a fact. Okay? He is Native and he is gay. Those two things together, that man did not live a life that was free of obstacles. And now in his death, where he was fucking murdered, he is still dealing with the same systems and the same backwards ass beliefs that affected him when he was alive. And one thing I noticed was all these neighbors didn't seem to even like express sympathy that he was dead. So like, let's say that this was the case where Jonathan was troubled, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't mean he deserved to die. I find it telling that a lot of the neighbors haven't shown their faces when they're talking to the news, and they're like, yeah, well, he was a big problem. But also tonally and in the words they're saying, don't really seem to be expressing any empathy, any sympathy for this man. My opinion, the entire neighborhood needs to be charged as conspirators. They were all participating in the hate and vitriol directed at him and his husband. Now they're covering up for the motive of the murder. Right. Like in his husband's statement, he wrote neighbors. This was not just the neighbor who murdered him. This was neighbors. And they are through their statements trying to affect the narrative here and remove the element of this being a crime that came on top of a mountain of, a violent crime that came on top of a mountain of violence that Jonathan had experienced. Years back, there was a Native man who was shot in Washington for carrying a gun and being non-compliant. He was deaf, so he didn't hear the cops and carried a prayer pipe. Yeah, like, do we need to go into the history of how Native people have been treated in this country? Are we really going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, no, everything was fine? The police and his neighbors surely treated this Native man as a worthy human being. Surely there was no systemic bias.
Like I said, I was not planning on getting on here and doing this, but I can't open a social media app without seeing lie after lie.
God.
And I also want to say thank you to Jonathan's fans who have sent a lot of support and love to my brother, and we really appreciate that. And please don't let this story be dismissed as just an argument between neighbors. This has been an ongoing dispute.
Also, the cops do this shit all the fucking time when they shoot unarmed black people, and they're like, well, they were threatening. Oh, well, we investigated and we found that actually the cops were in the right, and we thought that they were gonna do something crazy. And because of deeply entrenched bigotry, people believe that shit. They're like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. A black person, surely they were threatening. And so it enables them to keep doing this stuff. As an Indigenous woman, seeing another one of us murdered and having it downplayed or blamed on the victim yet again has been soul-crushing, but not surprising at all. We're no better here in Canada. I fear every day I will become a statistic. There is a genocide that has been happening of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and no one is paying attention to it. The media does not give a fuck. Law enforcement does not care. Why do you think that these Indigenous women and girls are victims? It has been happening. I mean, Indigenous people just across the board. No one talks about all the human trafficking and missing persons in tribes, especially in rural areas. Right, because people don't care, because their lives have been deemed worthless. And so they there is so much violence that is done to them, and nothing is done about it. When they immediately report no evidence. Yeah, they also said no evidence like 5 seconds after the murder happened.
And there's no need for it to end like that, especially on the first day of Pride Month.
Oh, God.
So don't let them erase this being a targeted act of violence. Don't let them convince you that Jonathan Joss was at all responsible for being murdered. An Indigenous student in Boulder, Colorado, went missing in March. Her body was found in a hard-to-reach place, and they deemed it a suicide. Her name is Megan Trussell. They're like, we investigated. Looks like it was just a suicide. Surely doesn't fit a pattern of violent crime done to Indigenous women and girls. Surely. Oh, it's just is so infuriating. It's so infuriating. Why does this happen? Is it because tribes are more vulnerable? It's because in this country there's a long history of colonial violence that and practices that still continue today, and it has made Indigenous people vulnerable still to state violence, to violence from their fellow citizens that goes uninvestigated, unprosecuted. The U.S.'s oldest tradition is fucking over Native people. Yeah, so it's systemic racism that's embedded within our systems. It's just ongoing violence that began when the Indigenous populations were first genocided, right? Like the violence against Indigenous people in this country has never stopped. Does that sound familiar somewhere else? Plus, since police in many communities don't care, they're easier and acceptable targets. Yeah, and then on top of that, again, Jonathan Joss was gay. So there are two levels here of bigotry and systemic violence that he experienced his entire life. And it's why it's really important to keep pointing that out when talking about this news story, that this wasn't just a guy who played a character on a popular show who was killed. This was a queer Indigenous man. This was a gay Indigenous man who had been experiencing harassment, and ultimately it culminated in his murder. Like, it's so crazy because there's a long history of this. We're going to act like we're not doing this anymore. We're going to act like the United States of America, that we're not doing this kind of violence anymore. That it's like, oh yeah, well, that was just a dispute between neighbors. There's a gray area involving the confluence of tribe and state police where basically no investigation ever gets done. Yeah, so there are extremely high rates of violence against the Indigenous in this country, especially women and girls who are affected by all forms of violence, and there's a crisis, a crisis that is a genocide. And it is what we refer to as the missing and murdered Indigenous women. And this has been an ongoing issue that unfortunately just doesn't get the attention that it needs, which is why it's an ongoing issue. And then, of course, of course, we understand that violence against LGBTQ people in this country is still ongoing. The movie Wind River had a statistic title card at the end that read, while missing person statistics are compiled for every other demographic, none exists for Native American women. Yeah. A lot of people have been pushed to the margins of society who exist on the fringes, and it makes them very vulnerable. And it's why fuck all these people, fuck the media, fuck the police, fuck the quartering, fuck all these assholes where it's like, man, you motherfucker, you bigoted piece of shit. Because the thing is that for those of us who get it, we get it. And it's funny to see the same people who spew these bigotries on a daily basis be like, no hate crime here. Dude, the quartering, I hate even mentioning that cretin. I swear it's like smoking a cigarette. You lose 11 minutes of your life every time you mention his name. But he posted the post of someone who claims to have been a neighbor or like whatever, had an inside scoop on the Jonathan Joss situation. And let me just show you an example of just blatant homophobia within this evidence that it was not a hate crime. Yeah, okay, here's what the quartering shared. I'm very sorry to have to show anything of his. I lived across this man for years. He started gunfights constantly. What the fuck is a gunfight? I'm sorry, is this the Wild West? What is a gunfight? He started gunfights constantly? And he burned his own house down trying to make a meth lab inside. Really? Really? Trying to make a meth lab inside? What, like he's Walter White? He constantly threatened his surroundings, neighbors, and played victim when cops came. Many neighbors have video proof of his torment. He used to throw bricks through my window and tore several of our mailboxes down. You know what? I bet if he did that, it's because your ass fucking deserved it. He was armed when he was shot and killed. Okay, so that means he deserved it, by the way. And no one on that block ever yelled homophobic slurs at him. It's all a lie from his husband for sympathy. I love the fact that these last two sentences back to back, no one ever yelled homophobic slurs at him. It's all a lie from his husband in quotation marks. Why'd you put that in quotation marks? Why'd you put the word husband in quotation marks? Is it maybe because you're a homophobic and also transphobic piece of shit? I wonder. I wonder. Is that why husband is in quotation marks? And that's the real tea. Yeah, where's this proof? My neighbors have many of the neighbors have proof of his torment. Interesting. Interesting that is not included in the post here. Yeah. The quartering says everyone claiming that Jonathan Joss was shot in cold blood over homophobia, which again, in quotation marks, might want to read this from the neighbors. You know what? Source, trust me, bro. I don't even like to give the quartering any oxygen. Isn't this the guy who pissed on his carpet and also was giving pedophiles advice on how to avoid getting caught? Like, isn't it that guy, among a lot of other things? But I'm pointing that out because I've seen quite a few posts like that, and that general sentiment being how the media has reported on this. So important to understand that homophobia is still at play. Homophobia is still at play in reporting on Jonathan Joss's murder. Yeah, no, I covered it 2 days ago when I first covered this, that the house had been vandalized and the electricity and the gas had been fucked with, and they had to turn it off. And they had, according to his husband, reported this. There had been threats from the neighbors that they were going to burn the house down. And guess what happened? The house is burned down. Man, it's just really devastating. The whole thing is so devastating. And it's like, this is the reality for marginalized people in this country, is that you are discriminated in your life. You are the recipient of bigotry on so many levels, and it's deeply ingrained within our existing systems. And then you're also a victim of it when you are killed by said bigotry. I just keep thinking about Charlotte Fosgate too, that 17-year-old trans kid who, it's like, man, transphobia is what caused her to tragically take her life. And even in her death, she is still experiencing transphobia. Like, it's just, I know it's shit. It's awful. And yet there's a lot of great people out there, and a lot of people who get it, who get what's going on here. You know, there is a lot of solidarity. Yeah, death isn't enough for these fucking monsters. Man, I wish I could just Thanos these bitches. I really do. Gulag the hogs. It's so gross. I've barely seen any condolences from celebrities he's worked with other than Chris Pratt's damn RIP, let alone condemnation of it as a hate crime created from the normalization of violence against LGBT and indigenous people. Yeah, it's just been so shittily reported on. Did you hear how he was treated at the King of the Hill panel? Yeah, I mean, it was sad. Like, it was very sad. And people are using that. It's like when his husband said, you know, he had been experiencing a mental health crisis because he's experienced so much trauma and harassment, and like, I don't know, the him at the panel when he stood up, and I guess he had not been invited to speak on the panel, and so he basically stood up and said, you know, my house burned down because I'm gay, and like, it very clearly was a man who was looking for any empathy. And it's like, here's this show that I'm a part of, and maybe people will care because they care about John Redcorn, right? Like, I'm John Redcorn. I'm John Redcorn's a fictional character, but I'm a real person, and these horrible things have happened to me, and I just want somebody to care about it. And like, the way that that's being used to like discredit him, which is fucking crazy because he was murdered. Like, I see people posting that and being like, ooh, yikes. Good God. Can't even point out his own reality without being... I know, without just being met with empty hearts, you know? And that's why his husband is like, look, please just spread the word about the injustices that were done to him, to us, to our dogs. Please remember him, you know? If John Redcorn or any of the other work that he did, if that brought you joy, if that meant something to you, but also just aside from that, this human being who suffered a lot, it's like, just please don't forget him and don't forget what happened to him. Empty hearts and thoughtless minds. I know. Oh, God. I feel like every day... Oh, Master Noob, thank you so much for the tier 1. I feel every day I waver. I waver between... There's a lot of good people out there, and holy shit, there's a lot of evil fucks. My God. A lot of good people. A lot of fuckers as well. Sorry, but I'm not charitable at all with these hogs IRL. They're soulless ghouls who celebrate violence. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty tough to be like, no, this is just shit that happens online. Like, you talk to these people out in the real world. I mean, that was like that was what King of the Hill was all about. It was, how do you have people who are seemingly opposites and come from different worlds and don't see eye to eye and maybe have politics and belief systems that initially contrast, but like find the humanity in one another, forge friendships through their differences, you know? That's why it also just feels like, oh man, one of the things that made King of the Hill so great was not a thing that happened, it seems, within one of its voice actors' lives. The show even pokes fun at the main character's ignorance. Yeah. Like, Dale was a loser, but you could depend on him with a rich history. Like, this is one of my favorite scenes. Kenny Clips posted this. 10 years ago, I filed a lawsuit against the Bureau of Indian Affairs, but to this day, they refuse to return the land that's rightfully ours. Have you tried using FOIA? What? Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA. Would you mind? Bringing down the federal government? Not at all. Like, this was just so great. It was so funny. And just the way that, like, these two people would connect when coming from totally different backgrounds. Dale being like, oh, a chance to bring down the federal government? You got it. I like that they also cast actual native actors. The first voice actor, John Redcorn, also died tragically young. Yeah, and what a rarity, too. I mean, having any native representation, especially, this show launched in the 90s, and having an actual native person voice a native character. Have you looked at this clip yet?
I think I need a beer. Honey, you want a beer?
Yes. Yes. How did he know I wanted a beer?
Oh, gosh. I think I need a beer. Honey, you want...
Right. The whole thing is fucking funny because it's like John Redcord's, land gets stolen, and then he steals the white man's wife. Yeah, you had these imperfect characters, these imperfect people who somehow still managed to make it work. Well. The curse episode of Parks and Rec was hilarious.
I completely understand you.
I've seen this
I mean,
clip
I
shared a
really
lot.
do. But this is sacred burial ground, and I just hope that the souls of my ancestors don't put a curse on this festival. There are two things I know about white people. They love Rachel Ray, and they are terrified of curses.
I did not watch this whole show, but I did see this episode. If King of the Hill came out today, people would complain about it being woke. They'd be like, hey, I thought this was going to be representation for us silent majority, but I guess not.
Jack Ruby's hat. Well, if I'm gonna spend money on it, I gotta know it's Jack Ruby's hat. All right. What colors does it come in? Next time it might not be a BB. I know what you're here for.
Dale, this isn't how I wanted you to find out.
Quit screwing around with my mower.
You've got to be kidding.
I don't kid about my mower. Now get inside and start massaging my wife.
He's taking some of the fun out of this.
How do I know it's Jack Ruby's hat? Well, if I'm gonna spend money on it.
Oh, man. Get inside and start massaging my wife.
In the spirit of fair play, I suggest we put on these authentic Wamapoke headdresses and dance around the table.
Absolutely not. That sounds highly offensive.
Does it, white man?
He was an advocate for the Wamapoke, but also was like a shrewd business guy. He was just a really well written character. Enough. I will put a curse on you. I will put the Wamapoke curse on you if you do not stop barking. I hear those little growls. I hear it. Okay, good. Good boy. Stop. He just keeps going like. You have something to say? Are you cursing me back? Are you cursing me back? I curse you. I'm cursing you first. I'm cursing you first. No. I'm cursing you. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Wait, somebody who linked that other John Redcorn clip? Are you playing Night Rain later with the boys? Well, the probs with that bathtub enjoyer, thank you for the 25 months, is I think Will's playing with I think he's playing with Asu and Jay Dilla right now. I don't know if there's any room for Lil Ol' Me. Wait, he's playing with fucking Hassan? It's time for him to go to bed. Is that why he hasn't texted me back? We need to study Kojima. I know, I was thinking of doing that Dude, I can't believe Hassan is off stream gaming. Of course he is. Of course he's off stream gaming. I'm going to call Will and see. Oh, he's still streaming. I'm going to call him on Discord. And I'm sure he's in the middle of a Discord call. I mean, honestly, I get it. It's very rare that he gets to game with his best buddy. But let me call him. Let me. I wish I could get into the call. If I could crash the call. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. They haven't even been gaming long. Motherfucker, it's almost 10 o'clock though. Oh, wait.
Caroline?
Wait, Hassan, you
Hello?
might use this.
I got a dragon
claw
Take the hammer. Take the hammer.
Take the hammer.
Where is it?
Take this.
It's right
What
there.
the fuck? It's gold?
Yeah.
What does that do? Devours
It's legendary. I don't know. I don't know.
Can
if you
I have a
use it, but
turn?
maybe.
Caroline.
Hassan, don't you have to go to Hassan, you have to go to bed.
After this game.
No, I'm gonna end it too. I'm gonna go to sleep.
You're going to
You
bed.
got one more in you. He's got one more in him. Caroline, don't listen to him.
Wait, but what about me? Can we play
Yeah, he's
4?
got one more in him.
Got one more. We'll last
I have to do film night, or else my audience is gonna kill themselves.
Wait, where
You're doing
the oh,
film
you guys
night?
left me, dude. I'm so lost.
Well, I
Hold
thought you
up.
said
Go
that
up,
you
go up.
Oh,
Thought you said that. I what?
I
What,
thought we
what?
were gonna play some Night Rain.
Wait, what?
I thought
What?
Oh wait, we can't go up. What the?
Wait, what the fuck? Where'd you guys go up from? There's like scary wolves over here.
Oh
The
God!
jump right here, Hassan. I just.
All
You
right.
might throw the run right here. You got to follow really close.
Oh
Alright,
no!
I'm
Wait, I
not up
jumped
there.
over there. I did, but I'm. You
you
guys.
did?
Oh, you're parkouring.
We're climbing
Okay.
all the way up. Yeah, it's really janky. We're gonna get fucking hit with.
Yeah, Hassan, you got to
frostbite.
play with Caroline and Jay to make up for your sins. You got one more
I
in you.
can't, dude. I have to go to sleep.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it 10 p.m.?
Have
Oh,
to.
don't
Yeah.
fucking little baby boy. You play it one
All
more.
right,
bitch.
I'm up here. Fuck it. Where's this goddamn dragon? Oh my god, I have
Do
frostbite
not
already.
fight
What
the
the hell?
dragon. Don't
Do not fight the
Just
dragon.
heal.
You got to follow me up this
Follow me,
hillside.
follow me.
I'm not fighting it, but I'm fucking trying to run, but I have frostbite.
It's-
And oh my
it's-
god, he hit me again. Oh my god,
It's
he's
super
dead. He
janky.
is-
You got to jump up a wall. You got to jump up a
I'm
wall.
I'm trying so fucking hard right now, dude. You don't understand. Oh my god.
Keep spamming, guy.
Why don't
Oh,
I
what
call
the
back?
fuck? What the fuck? Oh, I think I made it. I think I made it.
I'm just gonna mute that for a second. John Michael, thank you for the 22 months. So Obscure Leftist, I'm going to ask that you delete those comments because I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, but randomly for random reasons, I am going to play a Kojima game, which I've already planned to do. I have that on my gaming list. So I will
Who needs will anyway?
either, I mean,
One heart.
I don't know if I'm not playing Night Rain, then maybe I say fuck it. I don't know. I was gonna do it. I was planning to do it tomorrow, or tomorrow's Thursday. I was gonna like hit it hard the next couple days. Was Will supposed to play with you tonight? I thought we were playing Night Rain tonight, but he said to me, he was like, because he went live at 2, and he said, I'm going to stream through the day, and then I'm going to end stream. I was like, oh, can we play Night Rain later tonight? And he said, yes. So, hey, stop. Enough. No, Subnautica is not dead. No. It's not. Okay, so I guess maybe I will download a new game where I play something that I've already been playing. Stop. No, stay in your chair. Stop it. Enough. I can't hear myself think. Okay, let me unmute for a second.
The storm.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm so dead. I'm like fully
It's
dead.
all right,
dead.
it's all right.
Okay, great. That's what's going on there. Okay, so time to beat Radon. I can't. I'm still mentally in a bad place. I don't know. I that is not something that seems like the thing I want to do right now. Nandre's playing. Maybe someone on his team is tired. Well, I don't want to like kick anybody out, you know. It's fine. I have other things that I can do. So I should, okay, if I were to play a Metal Gear, which one should I play? The first one or the second one? What do you feel like doing? Thank you for asking me that. Thank you for asking me. I don't know. I think I could do quite a few things. What do you feel like doing? I could do a chapter of LA Noire. I could do some Subnautica. I could play MGS. Okay, wait a second.
I'm out of mana. I can't do shit.
Oh my god, the thing is in the way.
There's still.
I need one more.
I don't know. Am I going to jump in on this Night Rain squad? I don't know. You know, I kind of had the bug from last night. Would be fun to like try it again and try to be better. Why wouldn't I play Death Stranding? Because I heard that game is so long. It's Death Stranding hours. That's like a 50-hour game. Very long. 5-stream game. You know what? 1,000 gifted subs and I will finish Death Stranding. No. Let me ask.
Maybe.
Stop running away from me. Stop running away from me. Stop running away
Caroline,
from me.
what?
Should I play Death Stranding or Metal Gear Solid?
Ooh, both are good.
Oh my god! Why does this one keep running from me?
I'd say Metal Gear Solid, though, is probably a better fit.
The first one?
Any of them, really.
Oh my god!
Okay, my suck ability just is not working. I can't get mana back.
He hates Death Stranding. Why does he hate Death Stranding? Okay. Well, it's a because it's just a walking sim. Oh, you have to because you have to walk a lot. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let me take a look here 1 second. What do you think?
redemption. You were chosen.
Oh my god. Okay. Which one? Metal Gear. No, you know what? I'm just gonna. Okay, I don't want to start this tonight in case I end up doing some Elden Ring. But which one should I do? So this one, Snake Eater, is this the first one? This is the third one. What's the first one called? Just Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. Wait, these are like old. The first one isn't even on here? Oh, they died? Okay, wait. Oh. They all left this group. Wait. They all left the group. Will? Oh, I just tried to pop in. You guys were all gone.
Sorry. Metal Gear 1 or 2. Metal Gear 1, the ROM might be harder to find, but it'll be fun if you want to try it.
Okay, so you're done with Night Rain tonight?
Yeah, I gotta do film night.
God, it's so late. I thought you were going to only stream until...
No, I told you today was gonna be a super long stream. Gotta listen to me more.
No, I did. You said, you were like, I'm going to stream. Oh my God. Did you see him wag his fucking finger? Okay, well, which one of these should I download? I can't tell though which one is. Oh my God, that finger wag just triggered me. He is such a brat sometimes. You gotta listen. This bitch loves to act like I don't listen to him. Loves to. And I do. And then he'll change things up and be like, oh, that's what I said. You said you didn't listen to me. Okay, Nandre said he will play. Wait. Is he...
The first 2 times we did this, I was like, why is it always my character opening?
No, I think he's still playing. He's still got a crew that he's playing with. Buy this one. This is the masterful... Okay. Nan is in chat? Wait. Is he? Okay, Nandre, where is he? If you want to play Night Rain later, I'll DM you when we're done. Well, see, I was looking at a game right now, so... All right, I'll just do some I'll do some LA Noire right now cuz I don't really have a plan. Oh my God. You can always play with random people. I got to be honest. That sounds not like a thing that I would want to do. You know, I'm not like comfortable with the game. So I think playing with random people would kind of be awkward for me. Okay, so first let me see the Metal Gear that I am going to play. Okay, all right. Okay. Metal Gear. The first 3D title in the Metal Gear series, pioneering a new level of stealth action with live action footage, cinematic cutscenes, and innovative gameplay. You should ask for bribes for either Metal Gear Solid or LA. I'm so bad at that. I'm so bad. You know what? Okay, how about that? If you want Metal Gear Solid versus LA Noire, let's see the lobbying. Whoever lobbies
the most towards either of those games, then that is that is what I will play. That is what I will play. Oh, life is so hard, isn't it? It's so hard. You just gotta bark at everything. You gotta do growl. You're just a tiny dog living in a big world. You gotta let everyone know that you're big. You gotta let everyone know that you are big and strong. We're almost done with the boss. Oh, okay. Well, I will still accept bribes, but it looks like we are going to be playing yes. We're going to be doing a little Night Rain, and I do think that Nandre will be a better teacher than Will is. I offer 5k points to play Horizon Zero Dawn. For future reference, people are going to bombard you with MGS opinions. The best way to tackle the series would be to play the first game, then 2, and then the third's getting a remake to make it more modern. After that, the series is kind of wide open. Yes, that is something I have learned, that people have a lot of opinions about these classic games. My last 100 gifted subs were actually for LA Noire. Well, how about this? In the next 5 minutes, if they are still fighting the boss. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, I'm looking. They got a while to go. Then I will play something else. Then we shall see. Argo Chris, thank you. Did I say thank you? Thank you for the 20 months. Yeah, my little noodle. I love this awkward in-between time when I'm like, okay, I want a game, but I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the time to pass. I'm in the streamer queue. I am. I know. It is like browsing it. Anonymous, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Well, that's 5 gifted for LA Noire, so if I don't end up playing Night Ring soon here, then looks like it's gonna be a detective kind of night. Super long yellow username. Thank you for the 5. Do you have thoughts? Preference? Anonymous user, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Same question to you. Okay, no. All right. Okay, we're just supporting the stream. We love that. Thank you. Would you react to some songs from Expedition 33 while you wait? Sure. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, it looks like they finished. I don't think that they won. I don't think they beat the boss. I think they lost. Okay. Is Nandre ready to go? Ooh. Ah. Slattern, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. What about you? So far, here's the line. We're on LA Noire, which I will play tomorrow.
Oh yeah, thank you for the follow. Welcome in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Did you guys lose?
No, we actually just cooked.
Listen, okay.
Wait,
I choked. All right.
Did you?
Yeah, Flaky was carrying.
Oh.
I am doing the Lord's work, I will say, but I mean, he's been a pretty good teacher. I got to give him credit.
I was telling her last night how you were carrying the boys.
Do you know what's so funny is there were a couple moments